Back again with our regular Tuesday night double bill slot, and quite an interesting stream. I think this one's going to turn out to be, because we've got a couple of surprises in store. First of all, I'm going to bring in my regular co-host, my brother from another mother down under. That rolled off the tongue really easily. There he is, Matthew Holmes.
Hello.
Straight off of his set of his latest feature film, The Vegetarian Breakfast.
And what a vegetarian breakfast it is. Oh, yes. Italian, too.
Oh, yeah? Fantastic. What did you have to eat for breakfast? Because what time is it there?
Here it's 8:30 in the morning, and it's Italian biscotti. So, yeah.
I'm drooling just thinking about it. I have no idea what it was, but I know if Nadia made it, it's going to be amazing.
She did make it, and it is amazing.
So for those people that don't know, Matthew's wife is an award-winning chef and presents TV shows and all sorts of things. And she's particularly a vegetarian chef, and Italian. So the combination, a deadly combination for one's stomach.
Exactly. So,
and as this is truly international show tonight, we're bringing in America. Here it's the American jury. Catania, father of how many?
Uno, single one, and it's enough for right now. Thank you.
Should I change your name to recent baby daddy? Would that be more
accurate? You can call me Papa Catania at this point.
Okay, cool. All right, that sounds
we've got a real AUKUS thing going on, haven't we? UK, Australia, US.
Yeah. And I've even got a fourth guest whose location is unknown, secret base on the moon. Bringing in who's just known as the Inside Man, and he was at Pinewood when Alien 3 was being filmed, and knows a bit of juice.
Good morning and good evening and good afternoon.
Sounds like the line from that Jim Carrey movie. And good night. So we've already got a few people in the chat. That's great. There's a couple of our regulars there. Good. So guys in the chat, if you could do us a favor, we're a small channel with a small following and we're trying to grow. So do a little post with a link to the stream on your own social media, if you would be so kind. And I am expecting a fifth guest a bit later. So when they're available, they've said they will do their best to come in. We shall see. So we're going to start with Alien 3, and we're talking about the director's cut of Alien.
Although
3.
we have to say, we have to correct ourselves. It is actually not the director's
assembly
cut,
isn't it?
It is the assembly cut.
It's the assembly cut. Okay. Yeah, because Fincher disowned it. He still disowned it, didn't he?
Completely.
He doesn't have anything. He had nothing to do with it. This is, I guess, if anything, you could call it the editor's cut. It's the cut that editor Terry Rawlings put together.
You're absolutely right. This is actually the cut that you're right. Terry Rawlings put this one together, but it was essentially the assembly cut for studio bosses to view. This is pretty much everything that was there
before they started to fuck around with it.
Before they started to mess around with it,
And I think that when they started fucking around, that's when Fincher left. So I guess there would be some of Fincher's fingerprints in this cut, but it's not anything he signed off on or put his name owned it. So it's not really the director's cut; it's the assembly. It's Rawlings' cut.
Yeah, calling it the assembly cut is a lot better than director's cut, because the director's cut is pretty much saying that Fincher signed off on it without really him signing off on it. It's just another marketing ploy to juice more money out of this.
Yeah, that was definitely a ploy to get our hands in our wallets and say, oh well, it must be good then.
Right, it must be Fincher's definitive vision, and it's not.
No,
I'm going to correct that slightly on the.
They have asked him. Apparently, they did ask him in years later, like when the DVDs and the Blu-rays were being produced. They did actually ask him to come back and do a director's cut, but he has since gone. I'm not coming back.
Turned around and said, "Fuck off."
Yeah.
And after hearing what
they treat him so badly, and I'm sure we're going to hear some stories about that.
But based on what I heard,
it goes very, very deep, very, very, very deep.
Well, before we get into the behind the scenes shenanigans, let's do this in our usual order. What I want to do is I want to very briefly talk about the original cut first. We won't spend too much time on that.
Yeah.
I saw that at the Odeon, Leicester Square, opening night, Friday, whatever year it was.
1992, wouldn't it be? Or 91 or 2?
There are two things I remember about that night. One is the trailers that were on with the film, which was Carry On Christopher Columbus, which was another fucking dreadful movie.
Yeah.
And trailer for Patriot Games, which I thought looked good, but I was massively disappointed because I'd read the book, and the action scenes in the book are way better, which means there's something wrong with the film. And then I watched the film, and I remember coming out of the film going, well, that felt like a bit naff. And because Alien set such a high bar, and then I don't know if you remember, but there was like an early teaser trailer, and the logline on the early teaser trailer was, "On Earth, everyone will hear you scream."
Absolutely right. But do you remember that there was a poster campaign that was even slightly before that? And it was very kind of similar sort of thing to the trailer, but it had a picture of the egg, and below it was kind of a hemisphere of the Earth, and
I remember that.
And it said, this time it's in the most terrifying place of all.
I do remember that. I do remember that as well.
I remember as a kid, it was promoted as aliens were coming to Earth, and we were finally going to see that. And it never.
That was
sorry, Leroy. Just going to address this comment. I did not say I hated Patriot Games. I thought it was disappointing. The action scenes in the book are a lot better.
Yeah.
There was the scene in the book where they've got the M60 machine gun hidden in the van. They pull back the van and they massacre all the agents protecting the house. That's like a great visual scene. I was waiting for that scene, and it's not in the film. And they had that stupid boat chase, which isn't even in the book. And that was, by the way, that was an add-on. That wasn't in the film originally. They had to do something like about a £500,000 reshoot to do that boat chase. Anyway, we're not doing a Patriot Games. I'll leave that there.
But it wouldn't be a bad idea, because I've got some thoughts on Patriot Games. But anyway,
you know what? We could do a Tom Clancy. We could do a Tom Clancy feature films stream. That would be a really good one. Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, The Sum of All Our Fears, and there's another one I forget.
Clear and Present Danger.
Clear and Present Danger.
Then they also did Shadow Recruit with Shadow Recruit with what's his name, Chris Pine.
That wasn't good at all. That was awful.
No, that was. But
I couldn't stomach that one.
Let's not go down a rabbit hole. Okay, so my first impression of Alien 3, just the original cut that was released, I would give that probably a 5 out of 10 on IMDb. I was very unhappy with it. It was a mesh of ideas. I knew a lot about the production problems, because even then I knew people that worked in the industry. I was hearing all the stories coming back from Pinewood. Of course, we'll get some clarity on those in a little bit. So for me, it was clearly a case of too many cooks, and not a clear plan, and not someone like a really forthright visionary like Cameron leading the ship. And I think it was a mistake to try and go back too much to the original movie after giving us such a big action film. And I think I read the William Gibson script, and I personally think that script was better and would have made a better film in the hands of the right director. That's my. We'll get on to Resurrection later, Leroy. Not doing that yet. So that's my thoughts on it. So that's when I first saw it. So Matt, when did you first see it, and where, and initial thoughts on the original cut?
I only saw it on VHS in those days. I didn't go to the cinema very much in those days. But I don't actually recall the first time I saw it. It's hazy. I seem to remember liking parts of it, but I remember being, like everybody, disappointed that Hicks was gone, the little girl was gone.
Yeah, that really bugged me.
And I found that it was, it was so dark and gloomy, and you could tell it was a disjointed film. But because it was an alien film, over the years I kept finding myself returning to it, and I kept watching it. And the more I watched it, the more I liked it. And now I have to consider it, like, I love it as much as I love the other two, especially now that they bought out the assembly cut. when I saw that, I loved the movie even more. So I've actually,
yeah, my opinion on it has changed. I'm just talking about my initial reaction.
Yeah, but initially I probably would have
then.
been more in the 6 to 7 when I first saw
Right.
it, whereas the other two was more in the 8 to 9. You know, I was a bit higher, but you know, I'm now a staunch defender of Alien 3. Despite its problems, I think it's got more to offer that is wonderful than it has than terrible. That's what I think. So
Absolutely agree.
Okay, so yeah, so Inside Man, give us your take on that. And again, we're just talking about the initial cut, the initial release.
Yeah, first saw the initial release. It was the Odeon Marble Arch, and of course, as you probably know, that had, I think, the biggest screen of the UK at the time. I think it was like a 40
It did,
foot high
and the biggest
screen.
number of seats.
Yeah, amazing.
That's where I
cinema.
saw Aliens. That's where I saw Aliens.
Yeah, fantastic cinema, really fantastic cinema, and
Sadly
this
now
is where I'm
demolished
going to be.
and replaced by a hotel.
Yeah, I know. You know, it infuriates me so much. I cannot tell you that these wonderful picture houses are no longer. You know, these sort of cathedrals to cinema, cathedrals of film. It just
good term. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it just but it was so Odeon Marble Arch, and it was a crew screening, and this is where it's going to be slightly controversial, because I walked out the cinema thinking, thank Christ it's not Aliens, because I hated Aliens. And
I'm sorry, Gary. I'm sorry, Inside Man. We now have to.
I'm trying to be as least American as possible and keep my screams to a minimum. That is one hot spicy take. I hate Aliens. I've never heard that before.
I don't hate it. I've kind of I've reappraised it. Let's just say
we'll have to do a separate
hate
stream
it
about that.
but I really did enjoy Alien 3. But it confused me, as it did with everybody else. It just, it was kind of all over the place. But when I watched it, I thought, this, if only the script was better than it was visually. I could watch it as a silent movie, or with just the Elliot Goldenthal score. But in terms of the actual narrative, the plot and everything, because of so many different things were taken out and were missing, notably the Golic situation. It's like, what happened to him?
Danny Webb told us about that, and just came in one day and was told, "Hey, you're going home."
He was for me, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He was he was the character that I absolutely loved. I loved watching him. I couldn't take my eyes off him.
Golic or Morse?
Morse.
Oh, he's my favorite. He's my favorite of the prisoners. Who's just so good.
Yeah.
And I was so glad he survived.
Yeah. But
Matt, are you talking Danny Webb's character?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my favorite, and that was even before I knew Danny that well, I think. I'd already met him, I think.
That lovely little moment at the end where he turns around and he's about to walk out and he gives that little smile, and then he gets pushed and he's like, "Oh, fuck off."
I love that bit.
He's a total rebel to the end, He
even gets mentioned in the Aliens role-playing game book, which I actually have.
Does he?
Yeah.
Actually, there was an interesting script that was doing the rounds quite a few years ago now, and its working title was actually Morse. And I thought, oh God, what's this? This is another, sort of Inspector Morse script. I started looking through it, and I thought, hang on a minute, and it started off on this planet, this kind of penal colony again. It's slightly different. It was kind of a mining, a mineral mining colony, and from what I can recall, I think I only had about 20 pages of it that I saw. He was taken away to some station, and it was basically it was kind of a slight repeat of Aliens. We need you as an advisor, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was too reminiscent of Aliens, but it was just called Morse. And like I say, I thought it was like an
I
Inspector
wonder
Morse
if
episode.
Danny never mentioned that when we did the interview with him. I wonder if he ever got to hear about that.
Maybe he never knew about it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they would have, it would have been naff if they'd done it. They would have had to have had him as the actor. Sure.
Yeah.
It just would have been rubbish otherwise.
Yeah.
So Copa, where did you first see the original cut? And your opinion, please.
I was 10 years old when this was released, so I saw it first when.
So that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really making me feel old already.
Well, I'm glad I'm still making someone feel old. I'm 40 now.
You're a child. You're a child.
Quite a child.
So, yeah, I don't. Lately I'm not feeling like one. But yeah, so yeah, it was VHS. Parents brought it home after its initial release, and I've already seen Alien and Aliens, and I was a huge fan even back then. So watching Alien 3 is a complete shocker, especially coming off Aliens, because you have this action-packed, pretty much going to war film that every boy, when they're 10 years old, they're all gung-ho about it. And then it's kind of a return to Aliens. And it really is. They kind of returned Ripley back to her being in survival mode. Which is kind of a switch. She gained all this knowledge from Aliens on how to lead instead of just survive. And then they kind of, it was almost like they tried to strip away everything Aliens built up with her character.
Yeah, I had a big issue with that myself as well.
Yeah.
But we can get into it when we talk about the director's cut, but there was a lot that I did like about it. So out of 10, Copa, just to wrap that up, what would you give?
I give it
the
a
original
4.
cut. A 4.
The original cut, I give a 4.
Yeah. Okay, you've gone low. Now, I'm gonna pause this topic for a second. There's a reason for this, so just bear with me. So you guys might not know, but Matt just a year ago or 2 years ago, it seems like a long time now, directed a feature film called The Cost in lockdown. And I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer yet, but I was lucky enough to be the first person to read the script. I think I was the first person to see the cut, an early cut of the movie. And so Matt was kind enough to kind of trust me with my opinion, invaluable though it may have been, on the film. Now, the film is getting a release soon. It's got one of the best cut trailers I've ever seen for a low budget movie. How much did you shoot it for, Matt, again?
We shot the film for about 90,000 Australian. So it's not very much.
So that's probably about 60,000 UK.
Yeah.
Is that including post-production, yeah?
No, post-production, I don't know what the budget was. That was its own separate budget that was managed by another company. So I don't know what they spent on the budget. But if I was to guess, it probably would have been another 100, 120 maybe.
Could you grab us the link for the trailer and just chuck it in the chat? And bear with me, guys. There is a reason I'm talking about this.
Sure. You want me to chuck it in the chat on YouTube?
Do it on, put it in the YouTube stream.
All right.
So I'm a big supporter of independent films, and particularly independent filmmakers, and particularly independent filmmakers that struggle to get their films funded, because I know all about that. That's how Matt and I met, because I supported a crowdfunding campaign. So a really good friend of mine watched your trailer the other day, and he'd like to give you his opinion on it.
Oh, okay.
All right, man.
Hey, I know that voice.
Well, it's the drinker here.
And he's just come off with another stream as well. So
right.
Yeah, I was just doing a Patreon stream there, but Lance told me that he was doing a stream with you tonight, and I just wanted to drop in and say hi. And haven't had a chance to watch the trailer for your new movie. Very impressed with it. It looks very professional, very well cut. There's great sort of tension building. Like, the performances all look really good. and I like the way it's presented.
Amazing. Those three actors you cast are. I mean, I'd seen one of them before in Ben Hall, but those three actors they do a phenomenal job.
Because
Thank you very much.
Seems it's. I mean, obviously, I've not seen the movie itself yet, but it seems to really blur the lines, I guess, between vengeance and justice, and the guys who are out to take revenge on this dude that they've kidnapped. They start to question whether they're doing the right thing and how far they should go with this, and I guess maybe there's even an implication of whether or not he's guilty of what he's done. And yeah, it looks like a good solid like revenge thriller, I suppose. So nice one, man.
Thanks, man. Well, that was the intention, was to create a very grey world that does it. Are what they're doing, is it right? Is it wrong? And I don't know. I guess try to turn the revenge genre on its head a little bit, because it's the revenge genre is often, vengeance is often shown to be positive or good or cathartic. And I thought, I reckon we can do a bit more with that. So
yeah, so it has kind of a sort of a moral ambiguity about the
very much so. Yeah, and the characters questioning themselves. So it was that was certainly our intention. So glad that's coming through on the trailer, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Honestly, I was blown away with the idea that this was done for such a small amount of money, because it genuinely looks like a good $10 million picture from Hollywood.
We were talking about what can we shoot in lockdown. We were constantly having little conferences about it, and he said, "I've got an idea, and let me send you this script." And I read it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is really good." And he said, "Yeah, well, we're going out to I've got a small crew, a crew of 4 people or something." And
we had a crew of about a dozen people. Everyone was working volunteer, and we shot it on weekends. And a couple of times we were able to shoot for a week at a time, but it was shot over 13 months. So
wow.
It was
a day
really
here and a day there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we had a lot of lockdown as well. We had to space it out throughout all the lockdowns.
So with your main character, usually with like revenge tales, they go through all the hardships in the first act, and then the second and third act, they just keep winning and winning and winning. So in this one, without giving too much away, like, how much hardship is he going through in the second and third act to achieve his goal?
Well, it kind of, like I said, it flips the revenge genre on their head, which is normally the guy out for revenge has to fight against an antagonist who is greater than them, and it's trying to overcome the antagonist. In this film, the antagonists, you could say, are actually the 2 good guys, because they've got the guy they want to get revenge on, and the guy that they want revenge on is powerless. And it's all about them exerting their power and their revenge on him. And the breakdown and the conflict comes from their relationship of, should we do it? Should we not do it? Have we gone too far? Are we going too far? And then, of course, that creates more and more problems. So really, it's a lot of it is very psychological, and it's a complete reverse. You could actually say the good guys in the movie are the bad guys, and the bad guy is the guy you start feeling sorry for. So
I think anytime you get a guy who's like being tortured by someone, it's like, you're going to have an element of sympathy for him. And I don't know if the film makes it clear right off the bat, like he's actually guilty, or like maybe you could have an implication that he's wrongly convicted of this or whatever, or wrongly accused. But it allows you to do a lot of things, like dramatically, in terms of where this all goes. And I'd definitely be interested in seeing it.
That reminds me of...
I cannot wait to show you.
Well, Will, since you've arrived on the stream, we're now in double figures and have 10 viewers.
Great.
Well, I put out a little tweet.
That's your influence there.
I put out a tweet just let's see if we can get some decent numbers in here tonight.
Jim's asking where you can watch this picture, Matt. The release date is still a bit up in the air, isn't it?
It is. It does have a UK distributor. It was supposed to be released in about 2 months' time in the UK, but it's been held back by the US distributors. So hopefully, we'll get a date a bit later in the year. So we'll definitely keep everyone informed.
Fantastic.
Will, we might be doing a private screening of it when he's staying with me for a week in London in July.
Oh, so nice.
If between Canada, your mission to Mars, and various other commitments, you can pop down for it, let us know. And,
okay.
we'll sort that out. Well, look, I think we should do a stream about the cost for you, Matt, because it's a film I really want to support and plug whenever I can, especially where you know how I feel about your career and everything. So I mean, this guy's
Thanks,
done,
man. Appreciate it.
Like your 4th feature film now, and he's never had any support from the official bodies of the Australian film. You know, like the same thing like the BFI here. He's never had any support from those people. Yeah, he keeps going out and making more films, and they're always about stories he's really passionate about and stuff like that. And I just can't believe he's not getting the right support. We won't talk about the film that you got flooded out of. That's a conversation for
that's a whole other can of worms. That one, the one I'm in production on now. Yeah,
that's my. I tell you, find that story pretty funny.
What I find interesting though is the parallels about what I'm going through on the film that I'm currently working on now, and the parallels of Alien 3. The director who's getting completely like this, and is losing the vision because of the outside forces. Oh man, the Alien 3 parallels are too close, and I sort of feel very. I understand Fincher very well now when it comes to his attitude toward Alien 3. I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This is because I'm obviously coming into this discussion, so I don't know how much you've covered of Alien.
We just started on asking everybody's opinion of the first original release of Alien 3. Before we get to the assemble cut, I gave it 6 out of 10. Copa gave it 4 out of 10. Matt was more on the 7. The inside man, whose name we can't mention, who was on the set of Alien 3, holds it in quite high regard. Visually, yeah. He says it's a good silent movie.
What are you going to give it, Will?
Yeah,
right. I'd probably lean towards the 4.
Sorry, and I forgot Will's rule. We've got to call him Sir Drinker when he's on the channel.
I don't have to be Sir Drinker. Sir Drinker. Sorry. You can call me Susan if it makes you happy. But,
well, if you pay me £25, I might.
Well, it's but
anyway,
yeah, with Alien 3, it's a weird one. Like I did a whole live stream with Dankula talking about Alien 3, and like there's moments of real brilliance in it, and in terms of the really pushing home the horror aspect, creating an environment that's genuinely hostile, like putting Ripley up against a kind of a different sort of threat, and obviously the knowledge of what's happening to her. It does make for a different dynamic, but god damn, like killing off Newt, killing off Hicks, basically destroying Bishop, like before the movie's even really started. It's such a shit way to start a film.
Why couldn't they all have gone into separate pods? They could have all gone into separate pods, and their pod didn't land on that planet. You know, something like that. I don't know.
There's such a pervasive atmosphere of bleak, hopeless futility to the whole movie. It's like
which I really love. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, but you would. You're strange, so you would like that.
It's a weird one.
There's a nihilistic feeling to Alien 3 that you actually start feeling nihilistic yourself. That you just feel the sense of dread and hopelessness throughout the entire picture. And to build off of what Drinker was saying, like, you know, they killed off Newt and Hicks and Bishop off screen. They just got such an unceremonious death, and it was, if I recall correctly, it was between credits that you actually
right.
You know, so to open that way, to unceremoniously kill these beloved characters from one of the best sequels of all time, I thought was one of the biggest mistakes Alien 3 made.
It's like the Last Jedi of the Alien franchise.
But it was one of those
pretty harsh.
That whenever whenever you hear people talking about Alien 3 and their initial reaction to it, I think it was because it wasn't aliens. And that's one of the reasons why I wasn't particularly keen on Aliens, because it was an alien. But I've grown to like Aliens. I like it. It doesn't do a great deal for me. I just don't like the aspect ratio in which it was shot.
Oh, I wish they had shot it in the widescreen. I really do.
Yeah,
that's the one flaw it has, in my opinion. It wasn't in the scope.
And I think James Horner's score he's ripped himself off from Wolfen. if you listen to the Wolfen score, it's aliens.
Yeah, it's probably. I think he had 10 weeks to do it, so he was probably like, "Oh, quick, just pull something out."
No cutting of aliens on this channel.
There was there was a progression, obviously, from the kind of slasher flick horror of Alien to like, okay, let's ramp up everything so that now there's more aliens, but there's more humans with weapons, so it's now more of a war movie, so it's like action horror. But there was not such a clear like sense of progression with Alien 3. It's like, okay, what are we doing now? We're sort of just going back to like the slasher flick horror of the first one. I don't know. It just felt like okay, we're just like kind of going in a circle now.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying before. I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, I was just reiterating what I said before, which is they stripped what Ripley learned from Aliens, the motherly, being motherly again, and how to lead like a combat team or just lead a group of men. And they stripped all that away just to have her go back to just pure survival mode throughout the picture. Which,
I mean, she does lead them because she's the one who begins to organize the prisoners into like setting a trap for the alien.
That's very true.
She's the one who's got the like practical knowledge.
But I think it just seemed to me that they tried to strip a lot of how her character progressed in Alien 3, or sorry, Aliens, to make this back into a survival mode picture.
Yeah, but I think that's probably because you've got to start again. So you've got a character arc and you've got some change and development. I mean, I'll actually say something a little controversial. I actually think the Alien series is too limited to the idea is too limited to really run it this long. And it's probably by the third film, it's like, well, what do we do? We've done the horror house. Yeah. We've done the combat horror. What's left? And I think this is the problem with the Alien series. It's not that strong a concept to run it for this many films.
Well, I mean, it's a bit like the Terminator franchise. Same problem, where it's like all you could do realistically is keep recycling the same basic premise over and over again.
Yeah, and they did the first two brilliantly, and then everything else since has been a bit of a down. Well, it has been a downhill.
Exactly, yeah. And then you've got you've got the Prometheus movies and the Alien Covenant movie that kind of proved. Well, exactly, yeah, but it kind of proved that, like, if you try and broaden out the concept to something bigger, like with grander ideas about the meaning of life and like human, origins and stuff, it's like it doesn't work because it's just you're trying to like morph this relatively grounded horror film into like big, grandiose, pretentious ideas, and it's like it doesn't work. And like fucking hell, watching Ridley Scott trying to describe the ideas, the creative drive behind Prometheus. It's mind-boggling where his head's at with that. I don't think he even knows.
I saw that interview. So let's get around on the scores of the assembly cut. Did that go up or down for people? So for me, I go from a 5 to a 7 on that, 7.5. Much more coherent story. More interesting things happen. I preferred the version of the Alien. You saw a lot more stuff with the prisoners. Phil Davis actually got some lines in the film, So yeah, for me it was a better film, but it was still very much an imperfect movie, but it was an improvement for sure, and you could see more of Fincher's style in that cut, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, Alex Thompson's fantastic cinematography as well.
It's so good. I think it's actually the best looking of all three, personally. I think
it does a great job of making the prison just look like this horrible, grungy, dirty environment. Like, so it does that really well.
The production design and cinematography working together is just mine. I think it's the best of the three films visually.
Norman Reynolds is just a genius as a production designer.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's an absolute genius.
So gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Two sets that stick out to me is the junkyard where we find Bishop. Like that set piece is fantastic. And then the other set piece that always sticks out to me is the air duct, the giant air duct where we find his dog.
So Copa,
Murphy.
What's your score out of 10 on the assembly cut?
I still give it a little bit more. It's a 5 out of 10, but it's not that much of an improvement to me.
And Drinker, what's yours?
Yeah, I mean, I was at like a 4 out of 10 on the theatrical cut. The assembly cut, I'd go up to a 5 or a 6, maybe.
Okay, so
It's still not great, but like it does flesh things out. It's just kind of like a longer, like heavier version of the
this
theatrical
would
cut.
be a good time to let you know that our hidden guest, when he arrived on set, I don't know if you know the story about originally the script that they went into production on was about the whole film being set on a planet that was made of wood with monks.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah.
That's some sci-fi concept shit right there.
that set was still in Pinewood and it had been built. And Inside Man, you got to see it, didn't you, before it was taken down?
I
so
did
they were like monks, weren't they, in the original?
It was
version?
Well. I mean, Lance has already sort of alluded to the William Gibson script, but here's something. I mean, everybody thinks that they know everything about the making of Alien 3 because they've seen the sanitized version of the special features, and it's heavily sanitized. Believe me, it's heavily sanitized.
Of course.
When it starts off with somebody with a producer like David Giler making the claim that nobody wanted to make Alien 3. We didn't want to make Alien 3. I didn't want to make Alien 3. Horseshit. You have one of the hottest. You got one of the hottest franchises in movie history, and you've just come off the back of this amazingly successful sequel, and you don't want to cash in on that. Are you kidding?
Having watched all of those interviews. David Giler's full of shit. Watching all those interviews, he doesn't seem like a very stand-up guy.
Oh, I can tell you about David Giler.
Yes,
right. So obviously the William Gibson script. One of the reasons why they first went into kind of production, or rather, the reason they first got the William Gibson script sorted out was because they were just about to lose the option on the Alien movies. The William Gibson script, the first William Gibson script, was never going to be made. It was never going to be made. It was an idea that they wanted to put forward to Fox. So the first script, pretty much the same as the second draft. I think the first draft was January '87. So it was way back. No, sorry. November, December '87. So it was way back. Then there was a January '88 version where the beginning was changed slightly and certain scenes were completely different. I mean, in the original version, the space station was more like a giant shopping mall with thousands of people inhabiting this place, and Ripley was, I think she was burnt. I think there was a fire. She was burnt and comatose rather than being I don't know, neutralized by some. She wakes up of hypersleep and somebody kind of shoots her with kind of a taser or something. But she's not in the movie, or not in the script. She's basically comatose,
sidelined.
and she gets sent back home. Yeah. So it's really sort of Hicks, Newt, and Bishop's story.
I would love to have seen that film. I really would have loved to have seen that movie.
I actually, it's funny because over the last week, I actually went through I think 11 different drafts of the Alien 3 script, ranging from the William Gibson one right the way through to the kind of what was eventually the final draft of Walter Hill and David Giler. Well, mainly Walter Hill, but and it struck me that the William Gibson scripts were just a little bit too much like The Thing. There was a lot of The Thing in there. I just thought, this really is The Thing. I didn't like the overt political situation going on, and as soon as I reread that, I thought, this kind of reminds me of Phantom Menace. The kind of these two political factions going on. I thought, this is going to be, this could have been an absolute disaster. Anyway, so after the William Gibson disasters, then Eric Red is brought on board, Eric Red, he did, was it The Hitcher, I think? And Rennie Harlin was attached as director. And Eric Red's script is appalling.
Well, Rennie left, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
after Eric, he left.
Yeah, he kind of stayed on for a little while with when David Toohey came on. But Eric Red
he was on it as well. I didn't know. I didn't know David Toohey was on it.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Red's script was it obviously starts off with a Sulaco. All these Marines, guy gets his arm ripped off, wakes up, and he's kind of in some Midwest sort of town called North Star, and it's kind of out in the desert, sort of like Texas or whatever. And he's kind of in this little family home with his mum and dad, and he doesn't remember what's happened. And things start coming back to him, and it turns out that obviously he was attacked by an alien, and they brought these aliens to this place, North Star. And of course, on the face of it, it looks like it's a planet. And this is where this particular idea, if you think that Vincent Ward's idea was crazy, this one is worse. So on the surface of it, you've got like this Midwest kind of desert landscape. You go into a barn, and it's an elevator which takes you deep into the structure of this space station. And these experiments that they're doing, aside from trying to sort of experiment with chickens, pigs, sheep, they believe that they can assimilate the alien DNA with machines, aircraft, tanks, cars, etc. And it goes absolutely bonkers. Anyway, it finishes up. They think they're escaping in a spaceship, and it's actually a giant alien.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like surreal on the Python level.
Yeah.
They should have made it.
Terrible.
I would have watched that.
But the
that would have
best
been a
one
Drinkers special, I reckon.
Yeah.
But
keep it simple, stupid.
I think. But the best one was David Toohey's. To be fair, again, Ripley's not in it. It's a prison space station. Starts off.
I want to comment on that. We always talk about the cast when we do retro reviews, and I want to talk about the cast a little bit. And,
sure. Yeah.
When I watched it, I paid particular attention to the acting, because at the time when it came out, one of the main sort of things that I remember is that everybody swore, and it was a lot of like "fuck this," and that kind of. I kind of found that quite irritating at the time, but this time round, also in the assembly cut, there's less swearing, I noticed. But the acting, I think, on the whole, in Alien 3 is pretty damn good, actually.
Well, there's a big contingent of British actors in it, which is kind of interesting for a big Hollywood production like that.
Let's have a quick look at them. Ralph Brown, by the way, Ralph Brown has got a very entertaining blog if you want to look it up, and he talks about Alien 3 in his blog quite a bit.
Was his character not meant to be like super intellectual and like
he was initially,
in the original draft? And then they made him in this dumb moron, and like he wasn't really told until the last minute. Yeah.
Obviously, you got some legends like Pete Postlethwaite, the late great Pete Postlethwaite, Brian Glover, Clive Mantle, who was Little John in Robin Sherwood, if people remember the television version. Peter Guinness, who I've met a couple of times. Leon Herbert, who went on to be a one feature film director, he did a movie called Emotional Backgammon, which was featured on a documentary. And then
Charles Dutton is awesome. I really
like
him.
I really liked him in that too. Amazing. I really liked Charles Dance's measured performance in this one.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like he can bring gravitas to the shittest of movies.
Absolutely,
like, he's really good.
And, he's the reason why it's 3 out of 4.
Yeah,
that was originally offered to Richard E. Grant, wasn't it? Charles Dance's
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you would have had three Withnail and I characters, or three Withnail and I actors.
That would have been a bit bizarre.
It would have been a bit. I mean, you've already got two.
If they'd had a scene together. Phil Davis quite low down on the cast list for some reason. He certainly shouldn't be. So for those people that are new to the channel, we've got an interview with Phil Davis on the channel where he does talk at length about Alien 3.
Great actor.
And also we have Danny Webb, who's a really close friend of mine, and also talks at length about Alien 3. On the channel.
And he's great because he's like the only guy that survives out of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I really rated the cast. I don't think there were, obviously some people don't get a lot of screen time, but I can't say there were any weak performances in it for me.
No.
Totally.
And they had, and they're all bald, right? They're all head shaved, and they're all wearing exactly the same thing, and they were good enough actors to distinguish themselves, even though they all look the same. Which is great.
Well, I think they there's like almost factions within the prison population, like some of the guys who are obviously more hardcore with the religious aspects, others that are just kind of going along with it because it's like, well, easy ride and all that. There's the guys who are properly unhinged, and the ones that try to rape Ripley when she goes to the junkyards. And there's quite an interesting mix of people, and the main players you kind of get a sense of who they are pretty quickly. I do have to say, for all the problems that Alien 3 has, the premise of crash landing on a prison planet with no weapons available, and you have this deathly terrifying being hunting you down, that is a fantastic premise. The way it plays out, on the other hand, they really dropped the ball on this, and it's mostly due to studio interference, unless the Inside Man has something different to say about that.
Well.
I think they could have kept. In one sense, I don't mind that they killed off the little girl because the actress would have been too old to reprise the role. She would have aged like too much. But if they should have kept Hicks at least around for half the movie, and he could have made some sort of self-sacrifice or something, and I don't know, it could have been more interesting, and then you would have had a bit more connective tissue with Michael. With Michael Biehn. I didn't mind Bishop being all broken up still. It didn't bother me. But, just they had the opportunity to hang on to Hicks. They should have hung on to him.
Was this film made before or after The Abyss? I can't remember.
After.
The Abyss was 89. This was 1990, I think.
So would this have been during Michael Biehn's unemployable period? Because there was a period where he was kind of blacklisted for a little bit. He talked about it recently in an interview.
I don't know.
Well, he did Tombstone round about that same period, didn't
he? Just after this, he did Tombstone. So
I think that was kind of like not the high point of his career, but like I think it was more the mid-90s where he tailed off a bit, and I don't know exactly what the reasons were.
He kind of went through some quite sort of dark times, and he was quite open about that. And,
talked about it at length.
Yeah, I really like him. I like him as a person and as an actor. I think.
I always feel he never really became as big as he should.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there.
Yeah, I think he was a wonderful leading man for action films. I mean, especially throughout the 80s. He was fantastic in The Terminator. The Abyss, him playing a SEAL. Like, I don't know what it is about him playing special operatives, but it just works. He played a special operative in The Rock in a cameo, if you remember.
Yeah. Pretty small role, but it was memorable. He always he really felt like he was bought into it. Like he was giving it 100%, whatever role he was playing.
Yeah,
because he came into Aliens very late to replace James Remar.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, because he didn't really do the boot camp with the rest of the actors, did he?
No. And Remar was doing too much of the Scottish Chi at the time. So
I cannot imagine James Remar doing that role.
No way.
Yeah, because he always plays kind of villainous characters, really.
Yeah, but I think Remar would have just played it different. Hicks was able to be a bit more, a bit more removed and a bit more quiet and a bit more, a bit more of a.
But he had a good energy of empathy.
Fifth wheel.
Ripley that was very measured, but it worked really well. And the moments where I don't want to get into an Aliens segue, but where they
That's what we all want to talk about, really, isn't it? In fact, wait, hold on a second.
Except the inside man, he don't want to talk about
I know.
He don't like
it. Inside man, what other stories can you tell us about? Like, what did you witness on set that you can talk about without legal forces tracking you down? And,
well, I think it's been kind of 30-ish years, 30 odd years now. So I think
they're not going to come after you, man.
No.
Spill the beans.
So in other words,
he's rocking the pulse rifle.
Mate, is that the Nerf gun?
Does it have the camera on the side of it?
Oh, I wanted one.
I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine.
Drinker, does it have? It has the counter. It has the digital counter.
It does, yeah. It's got the digital ammo cut. You probably can't see it because it's a bit blurry, but it does.
When you fire it.
Yeah. Well, hold on. You can hear it spinning up, and then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where the hell did you get that?
It starts out as a Nerf gun, and then all you need to do is like sand off the various logos and stuff, and then respray it, and you got yourself a pretty accurate pulse rifle. So
it was a limited edition Nerf gun that came out. Somebody sent me a link for it, and I was like, "Oh God, I've got to get one." As soon as I went on, they'd all sold out.
I couldn't find it in the UK. I had to get it shipped over from the States, and then like do it from there.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Nice.
But yeah, I was very happy to get that.
What about the grenade launcher? Does that work?
It's it's hold on, the sort of pump action thing works on it, so you can you can do that, and you can actually like it will load one Nerf gun or one Nerf pellet into it, and you can fire it here, so just like that.
Nice.
I wish I'd had that for my Aliens live role playing game back in the whenever it was that I did that in 1991 or something.
Every so often, I'll just chase the dogs around the garden, firing Nerf guns pellets at them. It's great.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
So Inside Man, you were going to tell us some juice. Go ahead.
Yeah, give us some dirt, man. Give us some dirt.
Okay. You want some real dirt?
Real dirt.
Real dirt.
Yes, positively filthy.
Some air.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
Let's get dirty. Right. Okay. It's right. So David Toohey did a script, a fantastic script. If I can probably scan it and get it over to a few, get it over to all of you if you really want to read it. It's a great script. But so if we get on to Vincent Ward, right?
Oh yeah.
Now
That's Planet of the Monks, right?
Yeah. Wooden Planet of the Monks.
So Vincent Ward just wrote the story. He just wrote the treatment, right? It was John Fasano who wrote the screenplay, and John Fasano was really pissed off that Vincent Ward was the guy that actually got he was actually in the credits. So, but John Fasano kind of followed what Vincent Ward's treatment was all about, and he kept adding bits and pieces here and there. So they signed off on it. So the story that Vincent Ward actually tells in the special features isn't strictly true. So it turns right. Okay, so
liar, pants on fire.
Yeah. So yes, he's when he says, "Oh, they were changing this and they were changing that," and I said, "Well, it's you either do what we say or we fire you." That's not true. That's absolutely not true. What is true is that Vincent Ward was. I'm trying to word this in a way that would. Okay. Right now, I knew at the time that there was a director at Pinewood Studios that was. Right. Okay. Let's just see if you can take a hint. Right. Ready?
No idea what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah, cold. That's what was going on.
Yeah.
Bless
you. And Rex Pickett, who also wrote an incredible adaptation of the screenplay of the Water Hills. Really did a great version of Water Hills screenplay. His wife was Vincent Ward's assistant, and when he says in the features, someone came up to him and said, "Oh, did you know that your assistant is in touch with Fox every day? And kind of, telling them things about you every day." And he goes, "Oh, yeah." But of course, obviously, he didn't know. But that was Rex Pickett's wife, and she was having to report back to, I think it was Joe Roth or Tim Zimmerman, I think, at Fox.
Yeah, I think Joe
So
Roth.
she was, So she was reporting back to Joe Roth, and explaining, this guy is absolutely out of control, totally lost it.
Wow.
And that's when they said, "I'm sorry, you're fired. That's we can't do that." By this time, most of the sets, I'd say 40% of the sets had been built.
Oh my God, the Wooden Planet sets you're talking.
Yeah. He saw
and they
them.
were
He saw
good.
them being
They
taken
were
down.
good. It was
Inside
just
Man,
before they were struck.
How much budget do you think went into those sets that they had to strike down without even using?
Well, put it this way: they spent
$5 million.
$5 million in the they spent $5 million on writers alone.
Ooh.
And and that's back then. That's back from sort of 87 through to
That's a lot of money.
91.
Matt,
For
you and I
writers.
could have done a better film for 5K between us.
I know.
I mean, on the script anyway.
How much? I bet those writers weren't striking back in those days when they were getting that.
No, I
kind
bet
of
they
money.
weren't.
Funny enough, there was a writer's strike that had gone on at one particular point through the middle of it, and that's when Rex Pickett was brought on board.
There was a
through
point
David
during the
Fincher.
shoot where it was tools down, wasn't it? All the actors were sitting around; they weren't shooting for like about 3 weeks or something.
It kind of went on for about, let's see, because I was there through the hiatus, and it seemed like a long time,
Wow.
I think it was probably in the region of 6 weeks, probably even longer than that, because everything had to be struck.
Wow.
But those sets were amazing sets.
So off with the director and the sets go with him. They didn't just hand it over to somebody else to just keep doing what he had planned.
No, because
I didn't use that script, Matt.
This is where
Wooden
it's
Planet thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Wooden Planet, but no one kept going with the Wooden Planet, even though they started building. They just went, scrap the director, scrap his ideas completely.
Yeah, this is where it starts getting really complicated. I mean, it's it gets really complicated. So, right.
Oh, Inside Man! I've just found your IMDb credit on the film, actually. Yeah.
So he goes, and Rex Pickett is kind of the unofficial writer, and David Fincher has taken over. Okay, Larry Ferguson is brought in, but of course, when Rex Pickett starts writing, and it's an approved screenplay, it's an approved script, Fox approved it. I think it was Michael London, head of production at Fox, that actually approved it. All of Fox had approved it, but at this point, David Giler and Walter Hill decide that they now want to become writers, right? So they start paying themselves, and there's a reason for this, right? And I'll tell you the reason, and it kind of does get quite dirty and nasty. So they pay themselves. Yeah. So they start paying themselves a fairly hefty fee.
Writer's fee
for writing.
Yeah.
So they're paying. So they're paying themselves, and of course, Rex Pickett gets ditched, and they keep paying themselves. But this is where
what
it
is
kind
it
of
with producers, man.
This circles all the way back round to Alien. Believe it or not, this is the reason.
They never change.
But this is why, because Brandywine made nothing out of Alien, and they made nothing out of Aliens, and they had to take Fox to court because of Hollywood accounting.
Right.
According to Fox, Alien made a loss. Aliens made a loss. And of course, Brandywine, Walter Hill, and David Giler didn't get their back end. right? So they didn't get, so they took Fox to court to get their books opened. So their books were opened, and they were going to open them, and they said, "Oh, actually, we did actually make some money, but it's not as much as you think. So here's a little bit of money." So one of the reasons that Walter Hill and David Garner decided that they were going to pay themselves as writers was to make sure that they don't get stiffed on a back end. Sigourney Weaver.
Can't blame us for that, really.
Yeah. So it all boils down to Fox mishandling. That's what the whole story is. It all boils down to Fox. If Fox, it's kind of a cause and effect thing. If Fox hadn't have done what they did for Alien and Aliens, then we wouldn't have had the Alien 3 here. But if, and this is kind of sort of a nightmare scenario, if Rex Pickett's wife hadn't have reported back to Joe Roth on Vincent Ward's behavior at the time over at Pinewood, then we would definitely 100% have had Monks on a Wooden Planet.
Wow.
So we got Rex Pickett's wife to thank for that.
Just before we
I'm going to thank her because I personally think the Wooden Planet idea is bonkers. It doesn't make sense why you would build something in space made of wood.
And also, they were burning it as well in the script. Yeah, part of the story was they were burning it. So
there was glass works.
How do you get a planet made out of wood?
Before we go,
how does this naturally happen?
It's like making a spaceship out of pancakes or something. It's just like just mash random ideas together. Fuck it, why not?
Okay, another sci-fi film I'd watch.
I want to put this comment up. Hold on a second. So I just want to put this comment up because I think Matt Coper and Inside Man will all agree with this comment. Drinker, on behalf of all of us, the beauty of Will Drinker is the guy pushing 2 million subs. He still makes time for the smaller channels. Guy's a class act.
Thanks,
man. Thanks, loser.
That's and I couldn't agree more, mate. And there's that says a lot about you as a person. And having met you twice in person.
We got quietly drunk together. It was great.
We got slightly drunk the first time and very drunk the second time. And,
I wouldn't. If you didn't get drunk going out with Will, like you'd be like, what's the point? Like he's the drinker, man. Like what the fuck?
Yeah. To be fair, the second time I was at the tail end of a night out, so I was on the way by that point.
Had a head start, and you were with the lads. You were with the boys. And
we were out for a few drinks.
But no, it's just you're one of the people I would call a good egg in the industry, shall we say?
And it's a really good channel. There's nobody like it. There's no other channel that does that. It's really good. It's brilliantly written, really fantastically well written. I love it. I really do.
You'd think he was a writer, wouldn't you? You
think so. Well, you know what I found really interesting about people like Will that are emerging on YouTube at the moment, and I watch so many of them. And I just agree with so much of what they're saying. If I was a Hollywood executive who was actually intelligent, you'd probably be looking at all these guys going, that's what they're talking about. These guys know what they're talking about. We need to ring these guys up and give them a job so they can come over and fix our wretched scripts because these guys actually they actually understand the principles of what makes these films work.
Absolutely right.
If you take the word intelligent out of that statement, you might get lucky.
I think there's a bit more of that now. Like some of the studios are starting to recognize, like, hey, maybe it's good to get these guys on side or at least engage with them somehow. So I don't know, maybe we'll see a bit more of that in the next couple of years.
Until they start trying to buy you out.
I think it was inevitable that there was going to be some kind of backlash to the way they've been operating. But I think, Matt, you're absolutely right in what you just said. Because it's one of these businesses where, the CEOs of these companies, there are very few companies in the world where the CEOs don't know how their product works. The film industry is one of them. They know. Yes. They have no idea.
No, they don't.
They have no idea.
They are like monkeys. They're just flinging shit at the wall and hoping something sticks. They don't know what's making it work.
What they do is they listen to marketing teams and firms and they listen to stats and numbers. They don't listen to the people on the ground, which is the audience and people like Drinker who are sitting there watching this stuff and being critical of it and thinking of it and having a couple pints in between. But, And that's the problem, is that they just sit there and crunch numbers and try to make a movie out of marketing instead of the other way around.
Less focus on story. Unfortunately.
Well, then you get like they engage with like marketing firms who get their information from social media, and like that's not a reflection of reality. And so this is why it ends up so horribly skewed. Like they'll look at this and think, oh wow, like the 95% of America is like hardcore, like, you know, progressive left wingers. And it's like, well, no, it's not like that. It's a bit more complicated, and there's more of a balance of people. But like that's what they see, and they think, well, those are the people we have to cater to, and like that's what you end up with you know, modern movies.
They're constantly trying to cater to Twitter. No matter who's the loudest voice on Twitter, that's who they're trying to cater to. And they have to figure out that Twitter is not real life.
No, and the people that shout most loudly on that and spend the most time on it, they won't even buy your product anyway, probably because they can't afford it.
That's been proven time and time again now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
While we're talking about good films, I'm just going to quickly plug my new book. So, as it is my channel.
Oh, there it is.
This is the book that it's my diary from 1988. So apologies now. It does read like a teenager's Dawson's Creek. And you've got it's completely transcribed from the original diary. And then you've got older me cussing younger me off for doing so many stupid things underneath each entry. But more importantly, this is the year that I saw 137 films. So we're not going completely off topic. Yeah. There's a list of them all in the front of the book, and I've reviewed them all. It's also the year that I saw Die Hard 6 times in America. So,
that's time well spent.
Just
it really is.
Before we move on to Alien 4, just staying on the topic about quality of films, right? If you listen to some of the titles that came out that year, and I might be jumping around a little bit on some of them because some of them came out in the UK the year after, but you had, for example, Die Hard, The Hidden, A Fish Called Wanda, Stealing Home, which some of you probably haven't seen, but it's an absolutely awesome film, Willow, The Running Man, Red Heat, Young Guns, Midnight Run, absolutely fantastic film. By the way, Will, if you haven't seen that, you've got to watch that movie.
Great movie.
It's amazing. Midnight Run, put that in. It's like Big, Bull Durham, DOA, The Beast, which Will, I think you did a special review on.
I did it. I love that movie.
Predator,
way ahead of its time.
Predator, RoboCop, Empire of the Sun, Broadcast News, The Princess Bride, Angel
fantastic.
Heart, Bamba, Evil Dead 2, Three Men and a Baby, still quite a funny comedy. Prince of Darkness, one of in John Carpenter's best movies. Stand and Deliver, Beetlejuice, Mississippi Burning, Beaches, Empire State, got Paper House, Hawks, The Lost Boys, No Way Out with Kevin Costner, Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Now that's just some of them, okay? When was there a year in the last 10 years when there was that many good movies in a single year? Because
no way.
No.
You go back to the 80s and 90s, you can pretty much name any random year and go through the films that the big releases that year, and it just makes you keep going, oh god, yeah, I remember that one. Oh, that was good. Now, like we're not going to get that. Not for the current period.
I've reviewed all the good ones in the book as well, so there's a review of them as I see them. I saw like 4 films a day every day off I had in America when I was working there. Went to the mall, 4 films back to back.
We've obviously inverted here, because I remember in the 90s and the early 2000s, you were struggling to keep up with the good movies that were coming out. You're like, oh man, I'm going to have to catch on DVD because I don't have enough time. Now it's the other way around, where you're constantly searching for the good thing through the mountain of shit that's being pumped out.
As I keep wanting to go to the cinema.
Before, it's like we were spoiled back then. And we didn't even realize it.
And you didn't even know it. You took it for granted.
My wife and I are so often going, let's go to the movies tonight. Let's just go to the cinema. And you go and you look what's on, and we both
What Marvel films should we go to see?
It's all shit. We want to go to the cinema, but there's nothing on we want to see because it's entirely corporate garbage.
Yeah, it's cookie cutter movies.
Yeah. Cookie cutter movies, or just arty shit that's not actually good art shit, because I like arty films, but it's not actually good. It's just, I don't know, some statement movie or something, and you're just like, oh, come on.
There's a great quote there from from Jaina Quintana, who just says Predator is the best film of any year.
My wife will agree with you.
Thank you for putting that, Will. And
absolutely.
That's not a bad statement. It certainly is. I mean, I would say Die Hard as well is definitely as good as.
Predator.
Yeah.
Because Die Hard is an exercise in script writing. That I think you said this, Will, when you did your review of it. There's not a single thing that's wasted in that film. Everything in the first 20 minutes is set up.
It's pretty brisk.
It's brilliant.
Everything. Okay, let's talk about Alien 4 before we segue.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we just have a quick mention of the score for
Elliot?
Yeah, go on.
Love it.
Pretty good, yeah.
It's Elliot Goldenthal, and I've got the CD.
Yeah, it is one of the best horror. I think, easily it's equal to the other two films as far as a score. Yeah. I love it. It's just
I mean, I was listening to the expanded score today. There's got additional cues, and and one of the things that I'm going to mention this to my brother actually, and we were talking about the movie itself, and I said, what on earth must that spotting session have been like? So being sitting there and trying to spot that movie, trying to work out the length of your cues and where the cues are going to start. It must have been
how many cuts they got spent as well.
Yeah. But
it's
a beautiful score. I think it's
stunning.
It hits as well during the emotional scenes.
It really
not
does.
Just the horror scenes, but like
really
there's poignant
does.
moments like the funeral and stuff where it really goes for it.
There's this kind of weird, kind of slightly insectoid sort of sounds, that fluttering sounds and everything.
Yeah.
But there is something that I really need to get off my chest about Alien 3, and I really need to get it off my chest. And that is, I think the opening optical effects of the planet are absolute garbage. The optical effects where you see the sun going down, I think they're absolute garbage. Among the worst opticals I think I've ever seen.
I like the shot with the cranes in the background.
It's just when you see the kind of once the EV has been ejected from the Sulaco, and then you kind of see like the big sort of glow behind the planet, behind Fury 161, and it's this garbage optical, and that absolutely appalling shot of when she falls into the lead, the molten lead. Both versions.
That did not age well.
That's some dodgy green screen right there.
It's really bad.
I think visually, like the alien was also quite problematic. Like
especially
they had this weird like halfway house between CGI and practical with this one, where it's like
it was a rod puppet, wasn't it? They shot the rod puppet stuff, and
it felt like they were just a little too early. They needed to be in about 3 or 4 years, and then they could have used the Jurassic Park technology. And they were just.
I like in behind the scenes because apparently they tried to glue the alien prosthetics to a fucking whippet. And this poor dog.
Can you confirm if that was true?
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
I've seen footage of it. It looks like a poor dog in an alien's costume running around. It looks ridiculous. It's amazing.
It's too funny. So whose call was it, Inside Man, if you know, about that CGI scene at the end of her falling into the lead? Was that Fincher's call or was that the studio's call?
That wasn't CG.
I'm sorry, the green screen.
That was an optical shot. Everything about that. Are you talking about from the assembly cut or the
from
the original cut?
From the original cut.
Because in the original cut, the thing bursts out of her stomach and she sort of hangs onto it, doesn't she?
As she's going down.
That was Walter Hill and David Giler exercise.
I quite liked that moment actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
I kind of liked it. It's just, I mean, even back then, the kind of optical technology that we had. I mean, particularly a lot of the rod puppet stuff, you can still see the horrible black matte line on it. But with this, I mean, it could have been done so much better. Boss Films, who was run by Richard Edlund, I'm not sure whether they're still going actually. Boss Films,
no, they
you know,
closed
they
down.
did. Yeah, they. I mean, look, this is Richard Edlund, but this was some of the worst work they've ever done. I think.
Yeah.
You know, I really do think that.
The effects is where it falls down, definitely. But
yeah.
I forgive it personally because it was the tech that you could see them fighting against the technology. Like they just didn't quite have it yet. So I sort of give them a bit of a pass. But the actual creatures stuff, like when they got the guy in the suit.
Yeah,
oh,
that was Tom Wood. Do you know what? Right, the one thing that I would say about Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis, absolutely amazing people, real artists, but absolute gentlemen, real gentlemen, really
they were the
lovely.
guys that showed you the face hugger, right, mate? When you told me that story.
Well, I was with Tom because I was over with Nick Dudman at the time. And we were doing something on the original version of what was to be Phantom of the Opera. Nick, incidentally, he went on to do the Bishop prosthetic, the ear prosthetic.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, we were over there, and he got a call, and he said, someone wants to see you. So he said, come on, let's just pop over here. So we went over to H stage, and walked in, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And there was Tom Woodruff sitting there, and he was actually sculpting the maquette for the final alien creature, what it was going to be. And I was sitting there with him, and we were just chin wagging, and it was just me, Tom, and Alec, and I'm thinking I'm gonna wet myself in a minute, and it was just great. It was so exciting, and then I was there for a few weeks, and then we went over to see the sets, see the sets coming down. It was a shame to see them burnt on the back lot, but very wasteful business.
Nature and the beast. All right, before we lose anybody, let's talk about Alien 4 quickly. And it probably doesn't deserve that much time. Let's just get a show of hands. Out of 10 on IMDb, Matt. Okay, Copa, you'll have to do yours verbally.
I think I'm showing my hands right now, which I like this movie. None. Like I would say it's another. God, like it's either a 3 or a 4 for me. So I'm going to say 3. I'm going to go on the low end.
Inside Man, what would you give that?
I'd give it a. Oh God, I'd give it a 1, but that's only because I love the work of Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis. And
last but by no means least, Critical Drinker, Lord of
Here's
Destroyers.
my show of hands. It was
Can I change mine? Can I change mine to this?
Yeah. It was such a weird film. I mean, goddamn, I would take Alien 3 over Alien Resurrection any day of the week.
Absolutely.
It's got some individualistic, interesting ideas. There's some single ideas that are quite interesting, but none of it meshes.
Do you know what it felt like? It was like a strange mishmash of all of the previous movies, mashed together into one. Yeah, we're back on a spaceship again. There's slasher elements, but we've also got a bunch of people with guns, so there's kind of like elements of Alien 2 in there. But there's a kind of prison scenario. There a bunch of mercenaries. So you've got a little bit of that Alien 3 effect as well, but then you've got these weird scientific experiments going on. So all of that combined with this bizarre directing style where there's almost comedy elements thrown in there. It's
and that really awful rubber monster suit at the end that just that terrible
fucking thing.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, Drinker, actually, because if you were to go through that movie and look at what would be considered, any of the scenes that would be could conceivably considered as original scenes, every last one of those scenes were stolen from David Tui's script and various other Alien scripts as well, including some of the original Alien movie scripts. And I think I've got 6 or 7 drafts of the original Alien script.
Yeah.
And some of those scenes have been completely lifted off the page.
Yeah, it's just like a bastardization of everything. And also, it was written by Joss Whedon, so it's got this
who I think is
quippy dialogue that
little
does
comedy moments.
Oh God, I think he's a hack.
Everyone making snarky remarks.
Hack.
And the director is Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who directed Delicatessen and
Delicatessen. Yeah.
He did.
Is it true? Because there's one bit like that I've heard an urban legend about this, that the bit where Sigourney Weaver has to throw the basketball over her shoulder and score a perfect hook. She got it on her first attempt, and everyone fucking broke character because they couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
That's interesting.
That's pretty cool.
That is very, very cool.
When scripts get rewrites in Hollywood, the different writers or the different stages of the rewrite have different colors. So when a script arrives on set that's got lots of different colors, you know there's been a lot of hands on it. Like this one that mysteriously arrived through the post for me. Don't know where it came from, but look, that's an original Band of Brothers Pacific.
Where did that come from?
I have no idea inside, man. I couldn't possibly comment. I've also got a call sheet for Gravity. And also the art department breakdown for Band of Brothers. All these mysterious things just arrived for me in the post.
I have no idea where they come from.
I haven't got a clue. But I imagine that script probably had a massive multicolored chunk of rewrites.
Oh my God, that would have been a rainbow. A rainbow.
But I mean, was there anything anybody liked about it just individually? Because I quite like the underwater sequence, apart from the fact that the CGI aliens look shit.
I hate the underwater sequence.
Do you hate it? I just.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I hate the underwater sequence. You have 7 or 8 humans swimming underwater for 6 minutes. I've timed it. It goes for 6. It's 6 minutes long. Humans. Tom Cruise and Kate Winslet are the only people that can hold their breath for 6 minutes. Nobody else can do that. It's just and Olympic swimmers or something. It's just so dumb that you would run an action sequence over that long with people holding their breath. It's just really, really stupid. And so
I think you're right. It could have been shorter. Could have been shorter. And that was one of the scenes that was straight out of the David Toohey script as well.
I liked Ron Perlman's character. I thought he was pretty likable. I think Ron Perlman usually comes across pretty well in films like this. And he was quite funny at times. So he was good. And I can't remember the character's name, but the dude in the wheelchair, like the guy you never think is going to make it, and just somehow pulls through.
That's the favourite actor of the director, and he was also in City of the Lost Children. And if you notice, he gets really high billing in the credits, even though no one in Hollywood really knew who he was. And he really fought to get him that credit. There was a huge thing about that went back and forth with the studio about him having, I think he's got like 3rd billing or something, 3rd or 4th billing.
Perlman was in City of Lost Children as well, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
He was 1, I think.
I've heard an interesting story about the director in this film that my co-writer of The Cost, Gregory Moss, who I believe is listening, he said that the studio wanted the guy who did those films, The Delicatessen and The City of Lost Children, but the director, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, always worked with this other guy and on those films. And apparently all of the style of those 2 films really came from this other guy. I can't remember his name. But he was very much the visualist of those films. So they hired Jean-Pierre Jeunet thinking they're getting that visual guy to give it that look that they were wanting.
Yeah, and it's
sort of hired the wrong guy. It was actually this guy that was doing all. So
should have hired the DOP maybe or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. But I can't remember his name. But I think they ended up with the wrong dude. But it felt like it had this European oddball director sentiment with a quirky Joss Whedon snarky little script with every other movie idea mashed into it. It was just it really was a experiment that went wrong.
He was such a hack. He's such a hack. I cannot abide him. I really can't stand him. I can't stand his writing, his directing.
Did you not like Serenity?
No,
I never made it through it.
no.
I bought it, never made it through it. I was like,
I think the problem is more like what Whedon triggered. Like it's almost like he's the little pebble that started the landslide.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
absolutely.
and you got
absolutely, yeah.
This slew of like writers trying to copy his style because it's lucrative and audiences like it and stuff. But it's like they do it so much worse.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just now we're bombarded with it. It's like everyone's got to be making little quippy jokes all the time, but they're not really funny. But who cares? But let's just move on to the next gag.
And nothing
Exactly,
to do with the plot or the
and
character.
that's what we're going through right now with today's modern entertainment is the fact that we'll have like these really nice dramatic moments where you really feel this emotional pull and tug, and then they'll just cut it with a samurai sword with some kind of quippy remark, and you go, you had such a beautiful moment there, and you just annihilated it with some quippy bullshit, and that's what Whedon has kind of unleashed on us. Absolutely.
I think it's very much a kind of a painting by numbers, isn't it? You know, that's what it feels like to me. It's painting by numbers. It's literally, you know, he has his own particular criteria that he feels that he needs to fulfill with every screenplay. You know, whether it's his little quips or his funny moments or his dramatic moments. You know, all the different beats that he is. I think if you were to lay out every single one of his screenplays, the only things that would be different would be the description of the action and the names of the actors, the characters. Everything else would be, you know, you've pretty much got a blueprint. You know, I don't think there's anything different from one of his screenplays to another. I don't like the guy. I actually don't like the guy. I don't like.
No. I mean, he's been revealed to be an awful human being. And, But for that, I think it's sort of like, yes, thank you, goodbye. I hope he's done in Hollywood. I hope he's been Weinsteined and he's out. That'd be great.
I mean, it seems like he's done basically all his projects have been cancelled, and no one's interested in him anymore.
Yeah, he's gone out with a wet fart, and let's hope he stays that way.
Imagine that, a male feminist who's getting canceled. That's so
Speaking of wet farts, it looks like this is my swan song as well here. So I might have to finish up and say goodbye to you, lovely gentlemen.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Well, bless you for joining us. That's it's
thanks
really
so
really good to have you on.
Been a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime, and we'll be doing these most Tuesdays, always about 2 similar films. So anytime you want to come in, you're always welcome. And I hope to see you in London soon, with a bit of luck.
Yeah, nice. And with any luck, I am in Scotland in about a month, about 5 weeks' time or something. If the stars align, I'd love to say hello in person. If that happens, that'd be great. If not, good. I'll see you online another time.
Cool, man. All right, sounds good.
Thanks a lot,
buddy.
See
you later.
Cheers, Will.
Right.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
What a legend. Such a great guy.
Thanks for bringing him on, Lance. That was
I didn't want to ruin it just in case he didn't make it.
No. It's always
be a nice surprise for you, Matt.
Dude, it's just a testament of his character to show up.
Yeah.
He really does support the small channels, and I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this channel is because he encouraged me, and you know, and I've got a lot to say about the film industry, but from a slightly different perspective, I think, as somebody who works in it. Right. I just want to give a shout out to a couple of the cast in this. One of the things that's interesting about Alien 4, as I call it, is it's got the American Danny Webb in it, as I call him, the actor Leland Orser. You may notice they look very similar. And if I was a jobbing director and I had my choice of actors, I would write something for two brothers, and I would cast Leland Orser, who's an amazing actor. You might remember him as the glider pilot in Saving Private Ryan, the one who says
Ryan,
he was also in 7, wasn't he?
He was in 7. He always plays the same character of like frightened and scared, shell-shocked character.
But he's got incredible dynamic range, and I really rate him. Putting him and Danny Webb together in a movie would be amazing.
He's the guy that they forced the strap on.
Yes, right. That's the one.
In 7. That's him. Yeah. So he always plays the I'm shell shocked.
What an opening role for your CV. A couple of other people I want to give shout outs to is you've got Brad Dourif in there, who is one of my favorite character actors of all time.
Yeah, he's good. I think he was. Yeah, he shouldn't be in this film, but he is wonderful.
No, he shouldn't, but he's good in it with what he's given. I mean, he does his usual.
Yeah, he's very memorable.
If you want to see the performance of his career, watch him as the corrupt cop in Mississippi Burning. He is phenomenal in that, and him and Gene Hackman in their scenes together is just another actor that I quite like as an actor is Dan Hader. He's he plays a lot of very samey roles. He's always casting the same kind of character, but I like him as an actor. He doesn't have a great range, but he always delivers. Unfortunately, he was
a bit too comical in this film. Like
he was. Yeah,
it was. His best role was Commando.
Oh yeah, he's great.
because he played a South American Brooklyn accent.
I think. Can I just getting back to why Alien 4 is such a disgraceful shit stain of a film?
Yeah,
is
don't hold back
till it as it is. What made the other three films so good is you have a clear especially the first two. You have a very, very clear director, writer. There's a strong vision carried through. And even Alien 3, with all of its script problems and production problems, with Fincher's direction, you still have a singular vision driving it.
Yeah.
Alien 4 has no vision, and it has no idea of its tone. And a movie that has no idea of its tone is a shocking experience. Alien 3 knows its tone, and it's even though it's bleak, depressing, and dire and full of dread, it maintains its tone at all times, and never are you taken out of it. Same with the other two films.
What's interesting with Fincher's Alien 3 is that you can tell that he's really trying to capture the similar styles as Ridley Scott in Alien.
Absolutely.
He's really tying those two films together, and I'm pretty sure that's all Fincher with the look in terms of look.
Of course, it feels like the same universe as the other two films.
Exactly. Yeah. With Resurrection, you got these ultra wide lenses that he uses in Delicatessen and all this other stuff.
Warpy.
It's so warpy. I want to say they go as low as like 16 millimeter, even probably lower than that.
Yeah, they do. It's nuts.
It's crazy the look that they tried to provide with Resurrection.
Yeah. So is it worse than Covenant? Is it worse than Covenant?
I think it's the worst of all the Alien spin-offs, franchises, sequels. It is the lowest of them all.
Yeah. I would say three was a necessary, well, let's try and do something. I would say this is the point where they should have never made any more movies. So I think they're all equally shit, where they should have just never been made.
Yeah,
there was no reason to do this.
No, they don't need to exist. I absolutely not. It's Alien is the one. Alien 4 is the one Alien film I won't own. I will not own it. It's just like
I'd never watch it. It's the only one.
I don't own it actually.
No,
and
I saw it.
The first time
I saw it in the
cinema.
After
the cinema was this for this stream. I saw it in the cinema, and then I watched it again for this stream. And
and it's diabolical.
I refuse to watch it. I absolutely abhor this film. I can't. I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it.
Yeah, it is definitely a disgrace, and there's really not much more to say about that. But I think that's definitely and I think that's something that's really I think this Whedon tone that Hollywood wants to give everything nowadays.
Yeah.
This is almost like where it started, and that's what I guess is like Will said, the pebble that started the avalanche, and somewhere in Alien 4 is the beginning of this rankness. I think what we lack now, what we did have in the 90s, is we had films that were made by filmmakers, by artists, by people with a singular vision and a passion to tell a story.
Yeah.
And now they're movies by committee, and Alien 3 is kind of we can see it beginning. That idea of too many cooks in the kitchen, and Alien 4 is just a demonstration of when the studio is trying to put it together and not someone with a singular vision.
But was it me, or does does it not look particularly cinematic? Is it
No,
just
it's
me,
not
or does
just
it
you,
look?
mate.
Does it look kind of?
Not just you.
I just think it looks more televisual.
Yeah,
Television
I was going to
sci-fi,
say
you know.
it looks more
Number
music
4.
video. It looks more music video.
Yeah,
if you remember, like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the music video look was these ultra wide warped lenses, a fisheye lens. And it almost gets to that point where it's like trying to copy the style of what kids were into that day, the MTV look. It looked like it was trying to copy the MTV look and bring it to the Alien franchise, and it just doesn't work. What you need is long lenses and very dark tones where you just leave a little bit light leak into what you're seeing, and that creates the atmosphere of. I never felt terrified watching this movie. I never thought any moment an alien was going to pop out of the screen and kill me. And you got that at least, and you even got that with Alien 3. Like there was an alien somewhere running around this prison. And so that created this tension. There was never any tension in this film.
None at all.
I think exactly as Lance and Matt and yourself have kind of already said that it just feels like, this is kind of like to me a dead movie. I just can't stand it. But with 3, as you've all said, there was a sense of dread. There was a sense of terror. It may not have been the most well executed film, and all of the problems that Alien 3 had. But at least you felt that sense of dread, the sense of terror.
It's it's palpable, and I think what James Cameron did it's very carefully in Aliens when he said you don't create horror with violence and stuff. All you do is create disgust, and the horror and disgust are a different feeling. Alien 3 just throws the bucket of blood and the goo and everything and the violence. Yeah. And it's just a disgusting film. It's not scary. It's just disgusting. There's nothing. It's just, the camera goes down a guy's throat and the alien bursts through someone's face, through his stomach. It's just disgusting and stupid. And it really shows just how much... when a studio does not know what they're doing and they are literally now they are just throwing shit at the wall and there's no singular vision. So
what's incredible is Sigourney Weaver was okay to be in this movie. She was like, this is the one that I want. They paid her a lot
of money.
Yeah,
they paid her like $15 million.
Money talk. Big payday for her.
Because remember, even with 3, because she wasn't going to be in it because she'd refused to be in it right up until the moment that they offered her the right price.
Shishing.
Right. Everybody has their price.
And at that particular point, she was the highest paid female lead actor in the world for Alien 3. She was the highest paid actress in the world. And of course, she got a little bit
deservedly.
A little bit of a bounce sort of back as well, because she got the executive producer credit to make sure that she didn't, that she wasn't going to be one of these people that was subjected to the Hollywood accounting thing. We'll give you points. Of course you will.
Yeah, Inside Man.
Can I just say that Hollywood accounting that happens in the independent world as well. I'm telling you, as a director making a film right now,
Hollywood accounting actually makes sense. Hollywood accounting makes sense when you are the production house. Yes. Yeah. It totally makes sense. I don't blame them too much on it. When I start blaming them for Hollywood accounting is when they make sure they screw out their talent with their writers and their actors and everything else.
Yeah.
That right there. These are the people who got your film up. But all of us here understand the game. Producers will always try to screw the writers. Producers will always try to take away from the writers.
Guys, while we've still got a high number of viewers, why don't I show them all something that they won't have seen? Because I don't think Inside Man has seen. I'm going to show you a clip of something, a sequence that I shot, and I'll tell you how much it cost me to shoot this sequence, and everybody was paid in a second. Let me just put it up for you. Sorry to segue into something different, but it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about now as we're sort of wrapping up. So this is a sequence from Paratrooper, which was a pilot I tried to get the funding for, and we had to shoot this day because these tanks were being sold off to a collector in America, and they were the only right tanks for this unit, for this battle in Normandy. That's how accurate I was trying to get it. Anyway, have a quick listen.
Goodness me, is it frozen?
Tank up the road.
So I'm just going to tell you a few things about that. Before, one of the reasons I wanted to show you that today is because today is the anniversary of D-Day.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and that sequence depicts something that really happened on D-Day. That guy really charged those two tanks in the open. He was a para with 7th Parachute Battalion, an Irish guy called Michael. God, now his surname's gone out of my head. It will come to me in a second. And that was the battalion that had the first black British paratrooper in it who dropped into Normandy on D-Day. And just to tell you about that sequence, it's not been properly done in post, so it's not properly graded. There's loads of visual effects missing. There are some live rounds fired, but there's also a lot of visual post that needs to be put on it with bullet hits and things like that. Also, the music is a temp track. The sound hasn't been properly mixed. There are also some shots missing, which is why the shot with the black actor looked like it was from somewhere else. That was actually shot on a different day. We were just sort of, that's where he would arrive, but we hadn't done that shot and so on. So I shot that whole sequence in a single day. One day of filming from a 4 o'clock call time for a 6 o'clock first shot, 6 a.m. We finished the last shot at 7 p.m. Everyone was paid, and it cost £12,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Biggest budget was the tanks.
And I had a crew. I had a crew of 16, and I had a speaking cast of 6, and I had background extras. I think it was 12 Germans and about 40 British paratroopers.
You had an armorer too.
Yeah, we had a paid armorer with live firing Sten guns.
Wow, yeah. The guns are fantastic.
Was a Faulkner the only one that fired, or did all of them fire?
We had about five firing weapons, and then we had some rubber guns and stuff like that. So I was trying to make a pilot for a European band of brothers that would cover stories from like the Canadian paratroopers that fought in World War II, the British paratroopers, of course. Also, there was a German episode about the invasion of Crete, a whole load of other stuff. And this was part of our big pitch for Netflix. And we couldn't get anywhere, so we crowdfunded. And in the end, we decided to film that sequence because we found out that the tanks were being sold. And we we cast those actors, and they would have been on the rest of the film as well. But we couldn't get Toby Bacare, who was shooting a show over in wherever it was in the Caribbean. We couldn't get him for that day, so we did a day of pickups with him, another day for some just to create a trailer. But and I still haven't been able to get the money to complete that pilot. And that pilot was budgeted at 250 grand, which is nothing.
Nothing
for a film on that scale, and it had other action sequences in it as well. But we had such good access to vehicles, reenactors who are all really passionate about this kind of stuff. Matt's very passionate about his bush ranger history in Australia, which is kind of the Western stuff over there. I'm very passionate about European World War II, and I've got 5 scripts on my computer just in that period alone. I've got 50.
Was this? This was supposed to be a series, right?
Yeah, and the pilot is a 2-hour feature film, so it can work as a feature film, which is about the story of Sidney Cornell, the first British black paratrooper. And if anybody else was making that film except for me, it would have been fully funded by now. That's all I'm going to say.
It's time to start your GoFundMe, dude.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm talking to some people about maybe doing something in the future, and some people who've got the pool that could help me with that kind of thing. Not going to mention any names, but
that's the nature of the beast, and I think a lot of people don't realize that is how many projects can be greenlit, shot, and in the middle of production just get completely wiped off the planet.
Yeah,
it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to Matt. I'm sure it's happened to Inside Man. It's happened to everybody who's been in the industry.
Yeah, it happens, and it's really hard to get anybody to get interested. I've been pitching my Bushranger TV series around, and it's so hard to get anybody. I mean, it's gone to Paramount, it's gone to Netflix, it's gone to all the places, and they just don't want to know about it because they don't know what it is. It's because they're accountants. They're not filmmakers. They're people that they just number crunch, and like Drinker said, they've just got their committees and their market research people.
It's also about who you know, and the whole industry. What people need to understand is it's a lot of it is about 90% of it is about class. And if you come from a certain background and you go into acting, you're going to be picked up by a certain group of agents, which are all in the top 5. And so then, who are going to represent the Benedict Cabbage Patches of this world and so on. And and those people are going to be first in line to get all the top jobs, that pay the biggest paycheck, that goes back into the agency in the front door, goes out the back door. All the big agencies now all have production houses. So they're all effectively like mini Hollywood studios now. They've got the actors, they've got the production company. So they've also all got first dibs on people like Netflix and Apple and all the rest of it. But it's very hard for independent creators like us to even get a look in.
It's very hard to even get a toe in the door.
Right, because it's a lot of nepotism happening, and I agree with you with the 90%.
Oh God,
Yeah. I mean, I know so many people who've gotten legs up just because they were friends with whoever's family member. You know,
absolutely.
It's a very walled off business, more so than people think.
It's almost designed to keep it. When going into this industry, I feel like I'm constantly trying to go up against an industry that seems to be designed to keep me out. And so it's like a prison. It's like it's designed to keep you in. This is an industry designed to keep people out. So if you want to go into it, you've almost got to. You're trying to get into a country that you're trying to get into Switzerland. It's like, no, we don't want you in here. We're happy.
But that's why I always tell a lot of people who talk to me about this. I go, look, you need to support independent creatives because that is where you're going to get your good content.
Absolutely.
Because like I discussed before, like we were discussing before, these people are directing movies and making movies by committee. But the independent creative, sure, it's going to be mountainous of disastrous material, but you're going to find those gems in there. You're going to find the thing. It's like the show Silo. I don't know if you guys are getting Apple TV.
I've seen the first 2 episodes. I really like it.
So
I really like it.
They have, I don't know what's going on over there where you guys are at, but here in the States, they are not promoting that show whatsoever. Like I've only watched the show because of word of mouth. And that's what we have to do. We have to keep generating buzz for Matt Holmes here and for everybody else who's creating out there independently. And it's through the word of mouth that these things are going to get picked up. And Matt is going to be shown as he's undeniably good. And they will have to give him his shot. Or he could go a different route, which let's say he releases on YouTube and just, gets 100,000 subscribers and, he gets ad revenue off that. You never know. But what I'm saying is just, you got to support the indie creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only place that you can find originality. Everything else is, we know exactly what everything else is.
Just
and look where
in the chat, sorry, Matt, to cut you off. There's no super chat button because this channel's not funded yet. It's not monetized. The reason it's not monetized is not the number of subscribers. We haven't got the watch hours. I've got to get up to 4,000 watch hours. There's a 2-hour feature film you can watch on this channel that I directed for 50 grand in Greece called The Journey. Go and watch that. It's not an action film.
That's what I was gonna mention. I saw that. I watched it. I meant to say this to you. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's a very personal movie, but
and I've got to be honest with you. It sort of touched me quite a lot, actually. It really did. It really did, and it's a very, very very enjoyable. It really did touch me. I have.
Yeah, it's a very, very touching film.
Yeah.
Matt and I were in touch with each other when I was making that and he was making The Legend of Ben Hall, and we would kind of meet online for a mutual whinge about things that were going wrong on our production and sort of big each other up. One week I'd be upset about something that had gone wrong and he'd be reassuring me and going, don't worry, it'll be fine. And then the next week it would be my turn to do that to him. And that's actually the sort of during the period that we met, which was, we were really riding the same.
That's nice to have had each other as that kind of sounding board and
it's
shoulder
been that way ever
like.
since. It was the journey was a journey to get made. 2 shoots a week apart, 2 weeks in Greece with a unintentional cast change up that resulted in the whole script being rewritten. And but
it's amazing how often that happens, man. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I just had to rewrite the film with the stuff that I'd shot and somehow make it work. And it came out okay. It's not the film I started out to make, but it sort of works. But I'm quite harsh. I'd give it 6 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's my film. But it does seem to have touched a lot of people, and it is partly based on a true story about when I lost one of my closest friends. So those guys watching, you can watch that completely for free. It's a 2-hour movie. Jason Fleming is one of the leads. There's a couple of other known faces. You've got Duncan Powell from Rogue One in there, and a couple of other people you'll know. We've also got 29 other industry interviews, and I've got the first AD of all 3 Back to the Future movies, David McGiffert, coming on the 11th of June.
Fantastic.
On the chat, that's going to be it. So any of you guys want to drop in on that one, you're welcome to.
Absolutely fantastic.
Come on the stream,
that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I nearly had the DOP from the Goonies as well, but we couldn't get his technicals to work. He lives where there's almost no internet reception.
Lance, in the chat, they're begging for you to make a playlist so they could just spin your playlist for days and get your hours up. Just a little heads up there.
How do I do the playlist thing? Somebody tell me how to do that.
I'll help you out backstage.
Wicked. Okay, so if I make some, okay, cool. And I probably need to do some of those like short videos that Drinker does. Like the short clips of longer streams.
Sure. Yeah.
Like that would be another good. But you see, I don't even have an edit suite. That's how poor I am. So I mean, I do have one, but I can't afford it.
There's plenty of free ones out there, especially if you're just gonna clip your shows,
cut and paste.
it's totally totally free. DaVinci Resolve is free.
Yeah, DaVinci Resolve is amazing. I'll only ever cut my films in DaVinci Resolve now. I cut the cost in DaVinci Resolve.
Did you? Did you grade it? Did you grade it in Resolve as well? Because it's got a lovely grade.
Yep, it was graded in Resolve and it was edited in Resolve. It's a wonderful program. And I've had to learn Avid for the film that I'm currently working on, and I freaking hate it. Avid's awful.
Avid's
I can't.
Avid's for like the Raymond autistic people who know how to. There is so much to do in Avid. Like, oh my god.
Copa, this is your buddy who I did the True Lies stream.
Yeah, that's Whitey.
And those of you watching, tune in for the moment where you can tell Lance is very tired and he thinks that a rug on someone's bed is actually a dead cat. That was the moment when I knew I had to go to sleep. That was
that was a great night.
I'll come back on that channel anytime, guys.
We would love it.
That my Monday night, so I come home from drama and can come on your stream. No problem. I don't mind staying up. I'm pretty nocturnal anyway. So,
just quickly, Lance. What's your next? What's your next project? I mean, after False Accounts, what's your next?
So, actually, funny enough, False Accounts is my last production for a while because that's another production that I've had to do with yet again no money, where the actors are on profit share, which means they're not getting paid properly, which means rehearsal conditions are never ideal. You don't have proper contracts, so you're always working in that kind of strange, kooky environment. Sometimes a lot of good things come from that, by the way.
Yeah.
But I've kind of drawn a line under it, because I've chased money for projects since the 90s. And one of the things that was really sad about reading this diary, because I'm now like single again at 52, and the industry cost me my relationship, which was the most important thing to me in my life. 10 years, and the most important person. And when I transcribed this diary, which I thought I'd lost it, so I didn't even know that I had it, right?
Yeah.
When I wrote it all out, like the guy felt very kind of like a different person on the one hand, but on the other hand, where his life was is exactly where mine is now. I've gone completely full circle after working in the industry for about 30 years, and I feel my career is no further than when I did my first play. I don't have a good agent. I haven't been getting decent paid work. And I haven't had a fully funded project in absolutely forever. So I thought, if I do that for another 10 years and I'm still in the same place, I'm going to turn into a very, very bitter person. So I thought what I need to do is take a step back from chasing that dream and focus on things that I know that I can achieve that make me happy. One of those is what we're doing right now. I love doing this. I love doing this. I like talking about films. I'm really passionate about films. Matt is really passionate about films. This is why we get on so well. And I like recommending good films to people, especially older films. That's not what we were doing today, but we will be recommending some good films, just to let you know.
Well, how long is False Accounts? How long is that run going to be?
Well, it's only on for another week, and we're going to try and get it in the West End. But once again, we're up against the class system and the big boys. Trust me, the theatre industry is no different from the film industry. The chances of it getting picked up by a company that actually wants to take it on, or a big venue, is unlikely, because we're outsiders. We're the outcasts. That's where the name comes from. Now, don't forget, I've also got books out as well, including my 2 Diamonds in the Sky novels. And as we know, we're all about to find out that UFOs are in fact real, and this is all about UFOs coming to Earth. So these might turn out to be strangely prophetic. They're both out on Amazon at the minute, and 1988, of course, is out, and I've got the Pegasus Bridge scripts is out. I'm going to publish all my scripts.
Oh, that's one I'd be interested in. I'd be interested in that.
Well, the Pegasus Bridge is already out.
It's out, right? Okay.
You can buy that. That's on Pegasus Bridge. Is already on Amazon, and it's got loads of 5 stars out of 5 reviews. It's actually the script. My Kent State miniseries is out on Amazon as well. It's another I actually went to LA to try and get Oliver Stone to make the film about that. And then we did it as a mini series in lockdown, and you can watch it on the channel, all 5 episodes. Jason Fleming's in it; he turns up at the end. So you can pretty much guarantee if you watch any film of mine, Jason Fleming's going to pop up in it at some point.
We all have one of those actors. We all have one of those actors. I've got an actor that pops up on I've ever done.
And
myself included.
And the Paratrooper scripts, I'm publishing all of them. I've written 7 of the 10 episodes. I've already published episodes 7 and 8, which are very standalone, because people are like, why are you publishing to episode 1? And I'm like, well, I want to publish the episodes that are standalone, so that episode 7 is the Crete one, is told from the German point of view, where you would have exactly the same title sequence as the rest of the show, except it would all be German orientated, a bit like the Mirror Universe titles in Star Trek. You remember that? Where they did that in Deep Space Nine. They had a Deep Space Nine Mirror Universe episode, so they had like an evil version of the title sequence of Deep Space Nine with the Mirror Universe, with the bad guys.
That's interesting. No, I don't know. I don't really sort of know it, if I'm completely honest.
You get the idea, though. You get
that's an interesting idea.
So I do the same thing. It would be like, so like the Band of Brothers sequences, all those black and white images of people, sort of animated photographs almost.
Yeah.
It would be exactly the same as that, except it would be German characters instead of the Allies. So because I just thought doing one story told from the point of view of a German soldier in the middle of a show like that would be really unique and interesting. Yeah. And I'm not making them out to be good people. This is, you see them destroy and murder all the people in one of the Greek villages. They did that to several villages on Crete. And one of those massacres was photographed by a famous German photographer who happened to be there. And in the script, I've recreated that sequence so that all the photographs can be dropped into the sequence during. It's very evocative.
I mean that particular that particular theatre of operation it's really not been explored at all.
No, not cinematically.
Really that's something that I'd really like to see.
Yeah, and I mean with the technology now, you could do it properly. You could do the big paradrops and. And then the other episode is an Arnhem episode, but told from all through the eyes of a young 12-year-old boy. So it's his.
That's interesting.
It's his view of that battle.
Sort of like Empire of the Sun.
Yeah, a bit like that. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to show any of the same scenes that were covered in A Bridge Too Far. But there's lots of other really crucial battles that happened in Arnhem that are not seen in Bridge Too Far. So what I did was I made him get separated from his sister, and he's trying to get home, and he turns up at all the different things that I wanted to show.
Yeah, Operation Market Garden was such a clusterfuck that you could definitely get away with not telling the Bridge Too Far story. Any of those stories.
It's funny. I just recently finished a book. A really interesting book, actually. It was called Three Ordinary Girls. It's about 3 young girls in the Dutch resistance around about the time of the, just prior to and just after the Operation Market Garden. Really good book. Really, really good book. True story about these 3 young girls.
Can you recall who wrote it?
Oh,
I'll look it up. I'm going to read it.
Yeah, 3 Ordinary Girls. Fantastic book. Doesn't have a particularly pleasant ending.
Don't spoil it. Spoil it.
But that's war. Actually, there's a couple of books that I would recommend if you're really into your movies and everything. Killing Generals, the definitive making of Dirty Dozen.
I've been recommended that by somebody else. Yeah. See that.
Another one is just finished The Devil's Candy, which is it's a book that basically the definitive book of the making of Bonfire of the Vanities. And if you think Alien 3,
that was a terrible movie.
If you think that the politics within Alien 3 was bad, just you wait till you read this book.
What's it called again? Devil's Candy?
It's called The Devil's Candy, yeah.
Okay. It's a good title.
It is.
Really, it's a great book. It is a great book if you're into your movie history. But like I say, Killing Generals is, and That's killing with an apostrophe. It's an N apostrophe, not killing with a G.
Yeah, us Americans, we don't like to pronounce letters we don't have to.
Enough of my own self-promotion. Let me do the rounds. Matt, what have you got coming out? What's happening with you? What can we plug for you, mate?
Look, I just if everyone could just share my trailer for The Cost. It dropped this week.
Yeah,
it dropped last week.
If we have a quick look at that now, will that be ratioed, guys? Would we get in trouble for that, or can we do a quick look at that?
What do you mean? You're not going to get in trouble for showing The Cost trailer.
Yeah,
there's no one on the Cost production team that's going to come after you.
No, but I mean, YouTube might come at us for copyright. That's what I'm thinking. That's more my concern.
Oh, okay. I don't know how that works, man. I wouldn't have thought.
Copa, any opinions on that?
It's not.
I don't think you will, but you never know, because YouTube is just so finicky, especially when it comes to live streaming and showing clips.
Well, fuck it, Matt. My friendship with you means everything to me, so we're going to show it. I don't care.
Let's do it.
Anyway, I'm not monetized right now, so
Give it a crack.
Yeah, that's right. I think that will clinch it. The fact.
Okay, so guys, this was shot in lockdown. With minimum budget. Okay, and I've seen the film. I think I was the first person to watch it, wasn't I, Matt? I think.
Yes, you were the first. We were the first of the public to see it.
First of the public, yeah.
Nice.
Right. I think me and Gary, who's also from Outcasts Creative Australia, which consists of 3 people. One of them is here. So yeah, let's look at The Cost, guys, and then we can talk about that before we wrap up. I've been saying we're going to wrap up for the last half an hour, but we won't worry about that. Okay, so let's see if I can get that a bit bigger, mate. There we go. That's better, isn't it? Okay, and you guys could hear on that clip I showed, right? The sound was right.
Yes,
yes,
you could hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Here you go, guys. This is Matt's film. Matt wrote and co-wrote and directed this, I believe.
Co-wrote and direct, yeah.
Okay, here we go, guys.
So let me ask you guys an honest question. Are you serious campers? Or are you just up here getting away from the missus and the kids? For me, get away. You married?
Hey, baby.
Not anymore.
Just letting you know I'm on my way home now.
She was murdered. Troy Chapman. You raped and murdered Stephanie Baker. You sentenced to 32 years. They let you out in 10. I'm her husband. I'm her brother. I have spent years planning every detail of this. She begged you to stop. And wash away. It's not too late. You still let me go. What makes you think we'd ever let you go? Remember what he did to her. You keep that in front of your mind. This is justice, mate. And we're the only ones who can give it to her. If you do this, you will never be the same.
I love you.
He's letting me get inside your head. He's manipulating you. We go through with this. I won't be able to live with it. We have gone so far past the point of no return.
I mean, you know,
wow.
If I was a Hollywood
really
executive with intelligence, assuming any of those actually exist, I would be chomping at the bit to say, hey, what can we get this guy to direct for us?
Exactly, because you know what exactly that reminded me of? And Coen Brothers, Blood Simple, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I said to Matt.
Yeah.
I said to Matt, it's very Blood Simple when I read the script.
It's got a little bit of a Blood Simple vibe. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Just the way you shot some of the night scenes where you just have just enough, and that's the thing I love about certain directors including the look that you have. You just let enough light in to light the scene, and that's it. And then the rest of it is just the actors playing their parts. Fantastic look, outstanding.
Thank you. Thank you. Can't wait to actually reveal it to everybody. So
I can't wait to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
Cool. Let me know your thoughts.
Really, it kind of reminded me a little bit of. I mean, it could have been a Ben Wheatley film, to be honest with you. You know, I absolutely adore Ben Wheatley, and I thought
I think it's better than the Ben Wheatley film. I'm going to say.
I'll take that. And I'll accept that recommendation.
I mean, I like him as well. I know what you mean. He's very psychedelic on the edge.
It's the reason I say Ben Wheatley is because there's a lot of psychology involved in Ben Wheatley's stories, in Ben Wheatley's in his movies, and it's a hackneyed old phrase, but the phrase thought provoking and. You know, in other words, nothing's spelled out. You know, I don't like things that are literally laid out on the table for me. I like to be able to think. You know, I prefer not to be told what to think.
Right.
You know,
well, that was absolutely a goal. That was absolutely a goal when Greg and I were writing the cast. We didn't want to tell people what to think of it. What we actually do is present two sides that seem to be quite. You got two characters in the story that are doing this thing, and both of them have a perspective that absolutely makes sense. And as an audience, you're going, I agree with him, but damn it, I agree with him as well. And I don't know which one I'm going to really go with here. And the movie leaves it ambiguous. And we wanted this to be a movie that you walk out, you go to a cafe with your friends and you debate. And already in the few screenings that we've had at film festivals and such, it's just sparking conversations with people already. And they're thinking about it.
It's a fantastic dynamic to have, because when people go to a revenge movie, they expect to just watch, like I said earlier, the main character just constantly win after the terrible thing happens in Act 1. But when it's almost to the point where if you have your main character seek so much revenge that it becomes torturous for the antagonist, you start really kind of going, wait a minute, like this is really far. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie called I Saw the Devil, but it kind of it plays in the similar tones of, look, the antagonist for sure villainous, but when the protagonist gets a hold of him and just doesn't let him go throughout the film, you start really feeling support for the antagonist, and you have to keep reminding yourself of Act 1. I think that's a fantastic dynamic to have, because you will have people talking about it when they walk out of the movie theater.
And what we had a great I can't give away the story, of course, but when we had one screening and we had the person who was running the screening after the movie said to the people, okay, who agreed with character 1? You know, and what they did, and 50% of the hands went up, and then the other one was like, who agreed with character 2? And then about 47% of the hands went up. To see such a polarized difference between
that's amazing. That's an amazing split. That really is. Then
it was so
for me,
close.
that's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, because you're going to have people arguing outside of the movie theater. You know how great this is going to be? They're going to be shouting at each other on who is right in this movie. It's going to be fantastic.
So that's certainly what we designed it to be, and it seems like it seems to be doing that so far. So I think once it hits the mainstream, I can't wait to actually sneak onto I'm hoping I can sneak online and see people debating about the film on online to see who they really think was right, where the morality is, because it basically throws morality right out there and goes, here it is in all of its ugly forms. Now you tell me what you think is right or wrong. So the last 3%.
What did they think?
Well, we didn't get a show of hands for the last 3%. I think they were the fence sitters.
Oh, I hate fence sitters. Get out of here.
Get out.
Have you seen the original Old Boy? I saw the original Old Boy at the cinema. Man, that film is a head fuck. I refuse to watch the remake.
No, I haven't seen that one. I
watched the original. I tried to watch the remake and only made it about 15 minutes in and said no. Absolutely.
What did you think of the original, Copa?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
brilliant film.
Incredibly well shot. The
I was about to say the cinematography in that, because the color schemes,
unbelievable.
See, and that's the thing. Another thing that modern filmmaking has lost is that each department had a story to tell. And in Old Boy, the color schematic in that film is most definitely a part of the story. Like greens have a certain purpose in the story, purples have a certain purpose in the story, and so do reds. Yeah, today's filmmaking, it just kind of seems like people just show up and are like, okay, well, I'll light it today, and all right, well, the costume kind of fits the time period. It's things like that I think is lost. I think you need more people in each department head to sit here and say, I play an integral part of the story as well, and I need to tell a fascinating aspect of this story. That's just my two. We were reviewing last night Joker, and I think Joker, for all the flaws that it has, the look of that film definitely tells a story throughout. I think set designer and the cinematographer nailed that look to a T.
Yeah, it's a great looking movie. Fantastic looking movie. Definitely, yeah. And well, again, isn't it this is why all Marvel movies just look the same? I mean, I saw this. There's no departments that they are not bringing.
Don't get me started on that. That will be here another 3 hours.
In fact, I saw a video recently that showed that these Marvel movies are actually all pre-vised and designed. The camera moves, everything in the computer first. They make the movies in the computer 3D in a very rough 3D form first. All you have to do is hire someone who can look at that and go, oh, okay, and just make that occur on the set. Right. That's not bringing someone's vision to the screen.
What a lack of creativity that is. What an absolute lack of creativity and artistry that is. And the problem that I've got with these kind of movies, with all of these kind of movies, is we're gradually seeing the art of photography and cinematography just leaving the building.
Absolutely.
That's this kind of overt usage of CG. I can't bear it.
It's so muddy and ugly.
Yeah,
muddy,
it shouldn't even be considered photography at that point.
No,
it really shouldn't.
It's just garbage, and it makes everything look the same. I think going back and looking at movies from the 90s and connecting it back to Alien 3, you can tell watching Alien 3 that despite all the problems that they're having, there is a artist at work, and there are several artists at work. You've got Elliot Goldenthal with his music. You've got Norman Reynolds with his production design. Beautiful photography by the Alex Thompson, and of course Fincher's shot compositions and everything. There is artistry there, and we are losing that sense of artistry in cinemas, and in the mainstream big tent poles. It's not artistry anymore. It's corporate trash, and it's really sad to see it go.
Yeah, and this is why independent filmmaking is such an important thing. It's so important.
Of course,
I just it's as you say, Matt. I mean, this whole corporate movie making business. I'm so fed up with it. I cannot tell you. I mean, I'm fed up with things like Marvel. I've never watched Marvel, but when it all kind of started, I knew it was going to make me puke.
Don't hold back, sir.
And if I'm completely honest, I am all Star Wars out.
Oh my God, yes.
My liking for Star Wars starts with A New Hope and ends with Empire Strikes Back, and that's it. I can't go beyond that. I just can't.
I'll go one step to Return of the Jedi, and then I'm done.
Sorry, I like Rogue One. I mean,
yeah,
I like the prequels. I mean, for all the flaws,
you're not allowed to say that on this channel. I'm sorry.
I do. No, I mean, look, they're entertaining. No. Let me say this.
Oh, he's gone. What's happened? Oh no!
What? You've offended him. Oh no, he's back.
Hey, look, if I really wanted to burn this channel down, I would say the sequels were the best out of all of them. Now, look.
Oh no, sorry, I'm gonna have to take you out again. Oh no!
Now, the prequels were fine pieces of entertainment. Are they anything above a 6.5? Absolutely not. But you want to waste a couple hours of your day? Or the prequels are fine, not the sequels. But what Disney has done to Lucas's, I can't.
Oh my god!
I shit you not. I have this working theory that Lucas one day told Kathleen Kennedy when she was his secretary that she had a fat ass or something, and ever since that day, she has played the long game in order to take control of Lucasfilm and just ruin.
Have your balls on a plate.
Yeah. She's like, one day I'll have your company.
This has been her gestating revenge, and she's destroyed his. I'm gonna destroy your legacy, George.
Yeah, it is insane what she has done to everything.
Because I know that Marsha Lucas had a real problem with Kathleen Kennedy. Apparently, they had a bit of a run-in, and even though obviously George Lucas and Marsha Lucas have been divorced for some years, they had a run-in, and she really went for the jugular. Kathleen Kennedy's jugular.
Yeah, I heard she really
in public.
reamed Kennedy for what she's done.
Yeah. I read that article. That was great.
Is that something I can read anywhere?
I think it's out there. Yeah.
You know what? I just want to say, going back to what Inside Man, going back to what you're saying about how you hate, like, we've got to get back into the independence because that's where originality is. Look at every franchise that is being killed and destroyed and corporatized now. They all started as an independent film that nobody wanted to make. Nobody wanted to make. No one wanted to make Terminator. Alien was this random thing. Star Wars, no one wanted to touch. Rocky, nobody wanted to touch. They all started as a little indie film that just was so good. It was from a singular vision. It exploded, and now they're running them into the ground with the remakes, recycle. This is where the genius starts. It always starts in the independent movement with the independent filmmaker. Why can't Hollywood understand that the gold that they're looking for is not in rehashing everything, but finding those nuggets of originality in the independent world?
I think the problem with Hollywood today is the advent of the mega budget. So it totally shuts out the independent creative because good luck trying to get that $250 million budget, Matt.
I'll never get
way
it.
You're getting it. Yeah.
No way. Ever get it.
My thought is, why would you?
I wouldn't even want it.
Yeah, exactly. All you need is
I can make 10 good films for that amount.
I'd rather, if someone said you got $200 million to make a movie, I'd say, well, screw that. I'll make 5 for 20. That's much better idea. Or 10 for 20 million is a much better idea.
Could you imagine if you had the same budget adjusted for inflation, Commando's budget, let's say from 85? You can make Commando today, and I guarantee you make at least 3 times back the amount.
Yeah,
just for the dudes who are just wanting something like pure action based, something like that. But they don't do that. They just want something just completely computer generated for whatever reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's the problem with the two. Sorry, mate, go on.
Sorry, the problem with the $200 million film is simply comes down to money and logistics and making that money back. When you make a $200 million film, you have to advertise it, $200 million for advertising. So now you've got $400 million in the hole. In order to make that film profitable, you have to try to get as many eyes on it, which means that you have to sanitize it and try to make it please everybody, but it pleases nobody. And it ends up being vanilla corporate crap because your budget's too big. But if your budget is small, if you are hitting a niche market and hitting it well, screw what other audiences and markets think. You're making it for this market, and you're going to make it so that market will love it. you got a better chance at making a better film and actually turning a profit. And it might actually dollar for dollar turn more money because because if you got 400 million before you break even, and plus the cinemas are going to take half anyway. Okay, so now you've got to hit 800 million before you even make a dime. So the mega budget thing is bad business. It's not. And we're already seeing Disney falling apart through it.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, Disney being one of those companies that can have all these wonderful IPs, but unfortunately, what they're doing is they're spinning gold into straw.
Yes,
they're literally turning these things to shit.
Yes,
but of course, with Star Wars, I mean, I mean, don't get me started with Star Wars, but I might just rant a little bit here, but
let me just hover over the eject button.
I love a Star Wars rant. Rant away.
Go for it.
I think
let's talk about how good the prequels are.
There he goes again. Oh dear.
And he's out with 3 strikes.
But with the cinema, when the Star Wars sequels came out, what Disney had insisted was that for the first 2 weeks of them being at cinemas, that the cinemas would earn nothing from them. 100% of everything that was earned at the cinemas for Star Wars would go to Disney for the first 2 weeks, and that was worldwide. They insisted on that. So the cinemas made absolutely nothing. Usually there's a small percentage in the first fortnight, then it goes, I think, to about 25% after 4 weeks or something, if it goes to 4 weeks. So it kind of goes up incrementally.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I really couldn't forgive them for was the fact that Tarantino had Hateful Eight booked in to the various cinemas for the 70mm screenings, and of course Disney went to the cinema chain and said, yeah, well, you better ditch this guy, because if you don't allow us to put Star Wars in, we're pretty much gonna ignore all of your cinemas throughout the entire country. So
that's disgusting.
Yeah, so
that's like gangster, but that's like gang behavior, isn't it?
It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
Gang behavior.
It's exactly that. You know,
it's completely corrupt, and I mean, screw
and
Disney.
And that's Disney, the family. That's Disney, the family-friendly company. You know,
that's right. Disney's just.
Like
I'd never want to work for them. Never want to be. Nah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever will again.
We've lost.
I have a working theory with Fox selling most of their entertainment to Disney, which is to flood Disney with debt, and Disney's going to collapse and have to sell off these properties, and then Fox is just going to buy back their property for pennies on the dollar. That's what I really think was happening. Because Disney hasn't done. Disney has all these wonderful properties from Fox that they're just not touching, and the ones that they have touched, they've ruined. Like, I don't care what you say. Prey was an awful film that could have easily been a fantastic film. Yeah, but it was complete shit.
I didn't think it was awful. I thought it was okay, but it could have been a lot better. Could have been a lot.
Yeah,
could have done a lot more.
Is it bad? Is it as bad as The Predator?
No. There's not many things that are.
Right.
No, I couldn't watch.
Well, there's Alien Resurrection.
The whole film.
Alien Resurrection.
I couldn't even watch the whole movie of Predator.
I think Alien and Resurrection and The Predator, I think they sit in the same part of the bowel of cinema. Yeah.
Although I have to say, AVP 2 was probably. I actually wanted to stab my face.
Yeah, that's a really hideous film.
Yeah, it's so bad. Sadly, I went to the cinema to see that.
I saw that at the cinema. I saw the first one at the cinema.
Yeah, you didn't learn your lesson with the first one, guys.
The first one was a disaster.
It had 2 words in it that I liked in the title, but not a lot else. Well, look, I'm conscious of the fact that we've been streaming for, we're about to hit the 2.5-hour mark, which might be a record. Although Matt and I may have done 3 before. I can't remember. Although I've got to say, I'm having an absolute ball. This is like this is like our A-team panel, I think. 'Cause we had Drinker as well, so that that's
he's great. He's great, and it was so good to have him on. It really was good to have him there.
Yeah, good.
Copa, is there anything we can plug for you?
Just come
I started doing the plugging round about 45 minutes ago.
Some of us have feature films, so feature films we need to plug, so they get feature length plug time, and the rest of us.
Dude, you did a really great review of Commando, didn't you, on your channel?
I did. That was a couple weeks ago.
Let me drop that in the chat for you.
Go for it.
Actually, do you want to just grab the link for that for me, and or you can put it in the chat.
I can
yourself.
actually put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat yourself, guys. Check out Copa's channel. He does very insightful reviews, and he's also.
I absolutely will do.
He spends more time editing than I do, so they probably go down.
Well, from what you just told us, that's like 100%. So that's not really saying much.
Yeah, I mean, well, I do a little bit of editing. What I do is I send notes to someone like Matt or Gary, and then I get something back that's edited. So it's kind of with my input. That's a director talking.
Everybody comes.
I beg your pardon. So your most recent one was Commando. You say you were doing a
my most recent film review was like the top 5 reasons why I'm not seeing The Little Mermaid, and so
only 5.
I'm going to say you should post your Commando review. I think that's going to be of more interest.
Okay,
I only need one reason to not see the live action Little Mermaid.
Well, one of my reasons was. There's too much CGI, and if they just stripped all the CGI out and left us with the blue screen, I might go actually see the movie, because that seems hilarious to me to show the whole film with no effects whatsoever.
I think they should.
With all the people in the blue suits. Yeah,
they should have cast Tori Spelling in it from the episode of 90210, where she got stuck in the mermaid costume at the party, and she realized she couldn't move because she was stuck in a fishtail. And that was the tag for the whole episode. And I'm sure she's probably still got that costume. So, cast her in it. She probably, she could be like the mermaid's grandmother or something.
I'm definitely with you, Lance. There's only one word that is preventing me from seeing that film, and it starts with D and ends in Isney.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I gave 5 arbitrary and very rational reviews or reasons. So I say check that one out too.
I'm going to go and have a look at that straight after this, because I'd like to hear your reasons. So I've watched almost every anti-Little Mermaid. I can't find any pro ones yet, but I want to see yours. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of Disney simps out there somewhere making that.
Matt, next Tuesday, are we doing Kingdom of Heaven and Alexander?
I'm happy to do that. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, listen, I've accidentally bought the DVD of it. I might as well watch it, eh?
Do it.
I mean, I could send it back to. I haven't even got the shrink wrap off. I could send it back, but I just can't be arsed.
Yeah, so, what a bunch of clowns. Amazon.
Well, it's good. It's the seller that cheated me. Let me show you it. I've got it here, right? Now, of course, online, this looked like a Blu-ray, didn't it? Can you see why?
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, the Blu-ray of this, the final cut, I couldn't find in the UK, and then I saw this and I thought, oh, there it is, and I just purchased it very quickly using that quick fire button on Amazon that you should never.
I've never seen that version of Alexander. Is it worth it?
Neither have I. So I watching it for the first time.
It's very long, but it is the best of all of them. It's the one where he finally went back and cut it without any mandates of time and any of that. He just cut it the way he felt it should be. And I've seen all 3 versions. It is the best one of it. Not a perfect film, but I personally enjoy it.
Well, I'm a big fan of Ollie Stone, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. I love the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven. There's a lot I want to say about that.
I think both films are very artful. There's a lot of art in going on in Alexander. Again, there's a lot of things that aren't working, but there is a lot of good. There's a lot of art in it, and I think it's got some worthy. There is some worthy stuff in there.
I would say Kingdom of Heaven is one of the best movies ever made when it comes to the director's cut. the extended edition.
Yeah, I agree completely.
It's fantastic. So much better.
Yeah, that is a film class in itself to show you what exactly editing is. When the 2-hour film suffers, but when you get the extended edition, Kingdom of Heaven, it just makes that story pop so well.
Oh yeah, much better.
Wonderful film.
Yes, so much better. It just shows you why
we're gonna do that next Tuesday. We're gonna sort of compare. They're similar kind of movies about true historical figures, true historical events. Different directors.
The historical medieval sort of swashbucklers, I guess you'd call them. The modern epics.
Yeah. So we're going to be taking those apart next Tuesday at the same time.
Sorry, Lance. Did you say you're also going to be doing Running Scared and Midnight Run?
I am. I don't know if it's going to be. I'm going to do Midnight Run for sure, paired with something.
Billy Crystal's Running Scared.
Running Scared. Yeah.
I had a better,
fantastic film.
I had a better.
I love that movie.
I love.
It's hilarious. You want to talk? The buddy cop film.
That's where it started. That was it.
That's the best one.
Oh my God,
their film for sure.
That needed a sequel more than anything else in the 80s.
It was happening, wasn't it? It was going to happen.
And they had such great dynamic and chemistry together.
Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines were brilliant in that film.
Fantastic.
It's got really good songs. But what's interesting about it is that they don't do anything to cover their backstory. It's straight in Starsky and Hutch. These are two guys that get on.
And Jimmy Smits was a really good bad guy in that too.
Jimmy Smits was great. My Coke drops it down the staircase, lands on the floor and explodes everywhere like big bags of flour or whatever they used. And I saw that.
I love that big scene. The big set piece scene at the end.
In the building where there's
where he's rappelling from the ceiling.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Lots of Uzis, and then there's that really funny chase on because it was Peter Hyams directed it. He's really good at chasing. And where the car ends up on the rail track. And the guy's firing the machine gun out the car, and they've remembered they've got bulletproof windows in the car, and they're going, "Can't hit us." And that was quite funny. It's just a really fun film.
It's an amazing chase. It's a great film. An amazing chase. Really original.
It really needs to be talked about more often.
Well, we're definitely going to do because that and Midnight Run. I mean, they could sit side by side because they're two of the best buddy movies ever.
Yeah,
Midnight Run is definitely the better of the two. I've just got the Blu-ray for Midnight Run. It's German, so I'm not sure my player's going to play it.
It will. It's region. It should be region B if it's German.
I've got the DVD of it anyway. And again, that one is also in my book in 1988. There's a big long review about it. It was one of the top 5 films I saw that year. Greg Moss has mentioned The Hard Way. That is another favorite film of mine that does not get enough press.
Is that the Michael J. Fox one?
That's a great film.
With James Woods. James Woods has to escort him around.
Yeah, and the dynamic between them is really good. And the bad guy is the guy from Avatar, plays the general in Avatar. I forget the name of the actor.
Oh yeah.
Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang is the villain, and he's a proper creepy villain in that. So that's another one we've definitely got to do for sure. I really rate that film. I think it's really good.
Did the buddy film? Do we still make them these days? I mean, the last buddy movie I can remember is The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. That was sort of a buddy film. That sort of had some good moments, I thought.
Yeah, that was kind of 7 out of 10, I think.
But the buddy film was such an 80s and into the 90s thing, and it's such a shame we don't really do the buddy.
Maybe the following Tuesday might be our buddy cop thing, but
you guys are the buddy cops.
We'll throw that up. Me and Matt are the buddy cops. We're the buddy YouTubers stream. So, well, look,
look at you, Riggs and Murtaugh. Which one's Murtaugh?
That's not me. We had lots of people come in, and I just want to thank all the new people for coming in and watching. It wasn't just Cobra Catania's family, which is about 70 people. We did have some other people.
Catholic Italians.
That's right, and you're well on your way. adding more all the time. Great to have White Bear in as well. Thanks so much. Really great to have Greg, Matthew's writing partner, in as well, and also plenty of people that I don't know.
We had some regulars. Jim D's back. Jim D's come back.
Yeah,
that was great to have Jim D.
Plenty of regulars. Some of them have probably dropped off now. This unusual lady who keeps popping in. I'm trying to get a restraining order on her.
Yeah. She got a restraining order on me, so it's
I mean, we're seeing what we can do about it, Cope. We're trying for you.
Thank you.
I've never met Vexa Electronic Gaming before, but I think she's also part of your clan.
Yeah, you have. She's.
Is that the one with the dead cat on the bed?
That's the dead cat on the bed, lady.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, no, she was very cool, very cool, very cool. It's been a lot of fun. Listen, for everyone watching, thanks so much. Do support the channel. If you want to support me, I don't have Patreon, but I've got a shitload of books on Amazon. Some of my scripts, science fiction stuff, and then 1988, which I haven't started plugging properly yet because I've got a launch event for it in London, but it is out to buy. So if you want to grab it, you can.
Oh, I'm grabbing it.
I might be adding a couple of film reviews to it that are missing, but you can get this unique collector's edition now, which of course will be a limited edition. So it'll be worth.
Is it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. Though I've already put the link in the chat a couple of times. I'll stick it in.
Stick it in right now.
I'll stick it in one. Oh, that sounded rude. But
I know. And I also said, I'm grabbing it.
Just go on like this all night. There you go. I'll put the link in. I think that will work.
Great. I'm going to touch it.
Any more?
Give me time.
Make sure you get the thick binded edition. Okay, so
thick.
on that bombshell, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all my guests for coming in.
Yeah, thanks Inside Man for all the inside goss on Alien 3. I love hearing the stories.
It's been a hoot. I've really enjoyed it. Really, it's been a blast, a real blast.
As I always say at the end of my streams, if there's someone that you love in your life that you haven't spoken to for a while, pick up the phone and call them. Fuck all this social media text bullshit. Give them an actual ring and let them hear your voice. And on that note, we will see you again next Tuesday. I'm doing my kind of weekly roundup tomorrow, probably. I think I'm doing it. I've missed the last couple of weeks of the play. And there may also be some random streams with postmasters and things about our play as well. So but I will see you definitely with Matt next Tuesday, where we will be talking about Kingdom of Heaven and Alexander. Until then, see you again.
Ciao, ciao.
And guys,
Bye-bye.